Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joe Moran and I'm here with Joe, Dehls, and John Tortorelli. This is now episode 259. In this episode, we're going to talk about LeBron's injury, how much pressure is on Jokic to win a championship, react to Dame's 71-point game, talk about the Knicks, and rank QB needy teams. This is now episode 259. Shout out to everybody in the chat.
Yes, sir.
How are you guys doing, man?
Doing good, bro. How are you? Welcome back to the show. 2 weeks off, bro. How are you feeling? Rejuvenated? I'm so far away from you right now. It feels weird. Like, you look so far away.
Nah, I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. Right now, I feel weird because the sound of my headphones feel awful right now. Feels very loud.
Mine sound good.
How does it sound in the chat? Sound good?
Sound good? They didn't think we were going to start at 7:15. I told them. You were my source.
Yeah, Santos, better drop that 50. We saw that. That's why
you were my source.
That's why the urgency was picked up.
And this got to be the last episode with Tatum up there. We got to change up the vibes. We were talking on the playback yesterday. Ever since the All-Star game, bro came back, forgot how to shoot the ball.
Maybe a Jamal Murray jersey would be better in preparation for the finals.
Maybe he drops 40 tonight, though, against the Cavs, and we could keep it up.
Yeah, I appreciate all the love in the chat. My vacation was pretty good. I went to Arizona, spending time with a girl I've been talking to over there. My girlfriend now. I made her my girlfriend when I was over there. What I'm saying?
Valentine's Day shit.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. I actually asked my girlfriend on Valentine's Day, so I killed two birds with one stone. So every year, it's we got one celebration. It's anniversary, it's Valentine's Day. But yeah, Arizona's pretty cool, man. I was just vibing out there. I was still watching basketball. I was still definitely in tune with sports. I actually started my scouting process for the draft, and the first position group I started with was tight ends.
Why?
This tight end
class is deep. It's a deep class, but
Michael Meyer, Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington.
Washington's fun.
This tight end class is really deep.
It is. Tight ends to start out with is pretty nuts. I started with quarterbacks.
I probably should have started with the quarterbacks.
The class is pretty deep outside quarterback, where it seems a little bit.
Yeah, it's a weird class because there's not a ton of blue chip type guys. I feel like, and then outside of the top 15, it's shit. These guys could go pick 16 and they could go in the second round. So I know a lot of things are obviously going to change with pro days and the combine that's coming up this week, but it's a deep class for sure. Just the top end talent doesn't seem to be there in compared to previous years.
Yeah, shout out to Santos for being a man of his word and sending in that 50.
Santos,
the urgency pick up.
Now, my job, but PlayStation gift card too.
While I was on vacation, I definitely tuned into some portions of the podcast. I saw the Christian Wood and Derek White debate. I was very disappointed with how that turned out.
It's a true pick a side debate.
It is.
True pick a side debate.
Somebody commented on TikTok. This is the Mo Alley Cox debate of pick a side. Mo Alley Cox.
What was the Mo Alley Cox debate?
Somebody was arguing the Titans and the Colts receiving weapons, and he was like, the Colts got Mo Alley Cox.
This is like when he was talking about Devin Duvernay on the Ravens. I don't know if you saw that. It's a fourth option. It's Devin Duvernay. I'm like, okay, John, what are we doing?
Is he that bad?
He's not good.
I feel like he's solid.
Dude, what do you think his career high in receiving yards is in a single season?
437.
Is that, you looked it up? Or is that just a guess?
400s. Total guess.
I don't even know if it might not even be in the 400s.
No, but yeah,
407 this year.
The fact that you guys made it sound like it was so definitive that Derek White is just this better
No,
player
the thing is, Riv made it seem definitive that Wood was the better player, and that's what I had a problem with.
Who would you rather have in your team?
It depends on what I need on my team.
Try and win a championship.
I think Derek White is slightly the better option. I do. But I think that, I heard Dehls say he finally has his opportunity. He's shining. He's been in the league for many, many years.
Yeah. Derek White's probably not an ideal starter on a championship team, right? But as a bench piece, and then when you do need to start him, like we saw a couple weeks ago with Boston, he could play his role. He's one of the best shot blocking guards in the NBA. He could defend, he could shoot, play make.
I think the guy averages almost as many blocks as Wood. And the other thing, too, he's won playoff games before. Game 3, second year in the league, dropped 30 in a W versus the Nuggets. He's performed in the playoffs to the point where we're saying maybe Derek White could be the face of the Spurs. Obviously, things didn't work out like that. But,
face of the Spurs.
he has been absolutely phenomenal this year. The combination of him and Brogdon is almost unfair to have.
Derek White's a good player. And then what else? Oh, yeah, you guys talked about the Kings without me.
We did.
I was disappointed in that for real.
Me and Drew were on the Kings side.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you were. I'm glad you were.
I'm a Kings fan too.
Rip just apologized to the Kings, and now he's back on the dark side.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
John, you've been high on the Kings all year, and all of a sudden you come out and you're saying there's no chance.
Against Luka, I don't think they're winning. But that was of a week ago, before they started benching Josh Green for Justin Holiday.
Strange.
Doesn't make much sense. I guess
him
they
up like a week
guaranteed
ago.
that to him when they signed him. And then losing the Pacers at home too is weird. The Mavericks are like what 1-4 or 1-3 with Kyrie and Luka together.
Not
I
good.
think they're a better team now than where they were a couple weeks ago, but they are pretty big. I think the Kings could make that push for.
They would make it a series for sure.
Yeah, King's Twitter is on your guys' ass right now.
King's Twitter is large, man.
They were yeah, it is. It is.
It's a big group.
I've been finally ingratiated within King's Twitter. I follow, King super fans, King's Muse, King's Film Room. They follow me back. I'm ingratiated in the Kings fan base and fandom right now.
Oh my god!
So
what
I
round
get
one
all the
matchup do
agenda.
you want to see for them?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. That's his
Honestly,
other team.
I'll be honest. I think that any team they face is going to be an entertaining series. I think that if they face the Mavericks, it'll be entertaining.
We'll have to play with Warriors.
If they face the Warriors, it'll be very entertaining. I think Mike Brown versus Steve Kerr, that's going to be a hell of a series. I really think that the Kings have a chance to get out the first round. I think there's something special about this team. They have a certain spark to them right
They
now.
play the Wolves.
Yeah.
It'd be tough to miss the 6th seed, but
Yeah.
They could play the Clippers in the first round. If the Suns get the 3rd seed,
Yeah.
they could play the Clippers in the first round.
I don't know if I love that.
They
for
could
them.
beat the Clippers.
They could. Clippers.
Honestly, they could.
Yeah, Clippers' 4th game overtime these last couple of weeks, or this last week, has really been ugly. And all season, Ray's been talking about their 4th quarter not being able to close out games, blowing leads. A lot of it comes back to point guard player lack thereof. So obviously, playoffs time, that's just going to get exemplified.
So shout out to Paul Murray. The GOAT is back. $2 donation.
Wrong. First time.
William, GOAT is back. $10 donation manifesting Zay Flowers to the Packers.
Okay.
Zay Flowers is a really good player,
I
man.
feel like he's been getting some hype lately.
I feel like there's a lot of receivers maybe the Ravens can use. I like the Packers, but I want receivers to go to the Ravens. Todd Monken, that offense with Lamar
they need a
Jackson.
ton. They need like 4 of them.
They need like 2. Rashad Bateman and then 2 more.
Can you trust Bateman? Has been hurt back-to-back years.
You're a Bateman guy. Now
I am a Bateman guy, but I also realize he's been in the league for 2 years, been hurt 2 years.
I appreciate Bateman, man.
So do I. I think he's a good player.
This is from Barber Shack. Welcome back, Joel. Can we talk about Ja Morant and the stories that keep coming out about him looking like his character is not too good off the court? This is actually breaking news that happened with the Grizzlies. And it was a story that came out earlier today. I want to get it exact, so I'm not putting out misinformation out there. But when it comes, so Ja Morant was accused of punching a 17-year-old boy 12 to 13 times and flashing a gun at him during a pickup basketball game last summer, according to a police report obtained by @Molly HC, who is a sports investigations reporter at the Washington Post.
that was part of the report that
great.
came out from July.
Yeah, I was going to say, this isn't the first time I heard about this.
Yeah.
Like, we've known about this report in the summer it came out, you said?
I think in the early fall from the summer.
Yeah, I mean,
It wasn't as detailed as it is now, though.
yeah, there's probably more stuff leaking out or whatever, but it's not good. I mean, Ja Morant's had a few issues now off the court. He had the car incidents coming out, and we obviously don't know what's true or not, but when things start piling up like this, it's usually not a great sign.
Like, I think it's disappointing what's happening with Ja Morant. I don't know where this heel turn happened, but Ja Morant, underdog at Murray State, wasn't heavily recruited, beat all odds, had a breakout year, is the 2nd overall pick in the draft. I mean, since he's been in the NBA, I have not thought any of these things would have came out from Ja Morant. His first 2 seasons, he was very humble. The Grizzlies were this likable underdog. And just as of recently, I feel like when the Grizzlies started to get a taste of success, it feels like their whole attitude kind of changed. And I think it starts with Ja Morant. He's the leader of that team.
Sure.
And now it feels like Ja Morant is just acting a certain way that he doesn't have to act. You're in the NBA. You don't have to be hanging around with people that are a bad influence on you. Ja Morant isn't even on his 2nd NBA contract. With the antics that he's currently doing and he's being accused of, hopefully they are not true, but you're potentially costing yourselves hundreds and millions of dollars down the line for something so silly. It just doesn't need to be this way.
Yeah, I don't think, at least at this point, we're at that, time, or at least the Grizzlies are thinking this is maybe something that's going to prevent them from giving him that second contract.
They gave it to him last summer.
Huh?
They gave it to him.
He got a second contract.
Yeah, well, he's not on until next year.
But the money's NBA, it's guaranteed. So I mean, barring something ridiculous happening, but it's not great for John. You said it, like, he's the leader of this team, and he's super young, so maybe that's not fair. But you're also the number 2 overall pick, and you're getting money that's probably not fair to most people living in the world, right? You're making more money than most humans will ever make in their lifetime. So some of that comes with unfair expectations because you're getting paid unfair money, right? So, you know, that's a big deal, especially for the NBA where it is one and done, and it's not like the NFL where you have to wait 3 years, maybe a little bit more mature coming out. So when you have these kids who are 18, 19 years old coming into the draft and they get millions of dollars, we see, you know, from time to time that it doesn't always work out. Hopefully, you know, the stuff with Ja is, you know, exaggerated or even maybe not true and someone's looking for money because, you know, he's obviously great to watch on the court. But if this stuff keeps piling up, like, that's going to be an ongoing issue with this Grizzlies team. And I agree. They were a fun team, right? And they really only got a small bit of success. It's not even like they got to the Western Conference Finals or anything like this. They lost in the second round to the Warriors. And even still, you hear Ja, you know, a couple months ago, the infamous "we're fine" in the West. And, you know, they beat the Lakers last night. So I guess they're feeling fine, right?
He was amazing in the second. And he was one of 11, I think, to start the game. And now, first off, this is not a great look at all. I think we all agree there. But Ja is 23 years old. And at that age, you're going to mature in time. A lot of it's probably the crowd you're hanging out with. There was a report of somebody from his camp pointing a laser of a gun into the Pacers team party. That's a terrible look. But, I mean, he is a really young kid. I think in due time he'll mature. But, yeah, I mean, he's got a $193 million contract. He is the face of this Grizzlies franchise. And, I mean, I think some people overblow it a little bit. The reason why Ja is who he is because as a zero-star recruit coming out of school, you have to separate yourself. You have to have that intrinsic confidence. Right, and I feel like with Ja, because of how much he, Dylan Brooks, Jaren, how authentic they are and how true they are themselves, that's what helped them get to the league. And I feel like people don't resonate with that too much, but I mean, that's what makes those guys who they are. So I understand it.
Yeah. Hopefully this stuff gets cleared up.
So something else that caught my eye happened, and it possibly could have been something we could have discussed in This Week in the NBA, but I'd rather just talk about it right now. Paul George was on JJ Redick's podcast and basically admitted that he can't be the best player on the championship team. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'm okay with him saying that. I think that there are very few players that can be the number one. And he admitted, you know, my best season in my career was when I was number 2 to Westbrook and OKC. And I think it's fine. You know, there are very few players in the NBA that could be the number one option on a championship team. And Paul George, he knows he's a great player, but he knows he's just not on that level of those guys.
So how many guys are on that level? Do you want to go through the list? 8 players who are on that level. How many guys are on that level of a true championship number one?
LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry. Currently, you're saying?
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm. Giannis. That's 5. I think Tatum, 6.
Tatum is a borderline one.
He got to the finals last year.
The team is stacked.
It is, but he's also the best player on the team.
No, I know, but he's a borderline one. He's teetering. You lost the finals because he didn't show up.
We lost the finals because we played a dynasty. He also didn't show up, and we had a lot of turnovers. What are we at, 6? Mm-hmm. Who are we missing?
Embiid. Have you named LeBron?
We did name LeBron.
Name LeBron.
You did.
Embiid is a borderline one, too. Dame? I think if he's surrounded by the right team, he can. I don't think Dame is one.
I think Dame's a 1B. How about Devin Booker?
He got to the finals.
He did get to the finals. I wouldn't say he's that.
Okay. I would agree.
There's a reason why the Suns got Kevin Durant.
There is. I mean, you get Kevin Durant, doesn't really matter. Like, I mean,
the
Warriors
also,
had
Kevin Durant's
facts.
also
the Warriors had Steph Curry and still got Kevin Durant. You know, so yeah, 7, 8 guys probably. I don't know if there's anyone past that list that we're missing.
I'm sorry, you named Luka.
I did name Luka.
Did we name Luka? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anyone missing? You think?
No, I think the cutoff points: Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker, and Dame Lillard.
Yeah, I think those are the guys that those are second options. You know, I understand people kind of looking at it as like a knock on Paul George because he's not admitting he's an alpha. But I don't think you can win this situation. If Paul George says that he can absolutely be the best player on the championship team, people are going to take that and they're going to clown him because they know it's not true and make fun of him for that.
Yeah.
And if he says that he can be it, you know, people are clowning him regardless because, it looks like you lack confidence. I just think sometimes it's okay to be honest with yourself.
It is okay to be on, and he's honestly one of the best number 2s in the game. So maybe that plays a little bit into it. He's like, I know I'm not a number 1, but if we have the argument who's the best number 2 in the league, I am at the top of that list and might be, the best. Outside of like Devin Booker, who we mentioned is like a borderline 1 already. I don't hate it. I think I would still rather Paul George, if I was a Paul George fan or a Clippers fan, have him go up there and say, yes, I can be, just to show the confidence and let the internet be the internet. Because like you said, you're going to get made fun of regardless. So I would rather get made fun of for saying I am the best player. I could be the best player in the championship team rather than what he did say, saying I can't. There is a part of humility there that you have to respect, knowing that he's right. Like I don't think any Paul George-led team is going to go on a championship run. But I also think if the Clippers want to go on a championship run, he's going to have to play damn near identical to what Kawhi does. He's like, Kawhi's going to be number 1 for sure, but it's not like Paul George. There can't be a big gap there. Like Paul George is going to have to be putting up damn near identical stats and have a very similar impact to Kawhi if the Clippers want to go on this run. The West, as we know, is wide open and has some dogs in the top. I also want to shout out Drew real quick, who isn't here, obviously, studying for his NCLEX, which is his nursing exam. I just saw him in the chat, so I want to give him a shout out.
He said, cook up today, y'all. Hate not being there with the gang. 100 emoji.
Facts.
Maybe back soon.
His NCLEX is today or it's tomorrow?
Friday.
What's tomorrow? I'm pretty sure, right?
Friday?
Tomorrow's Thursday, so it's on Friday.
It's on Friday, okay.
Yeah. Now, let's not forget about Paul George. At 22 years old, he took the Big 3 Miami Heat with Roy Hibbert to the wire in Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals. Before that leg injury, I mean, we were looking at Paul George as a borderline superstar emerging. As the next face of the Pacers following, Danny Granger's total regression due to injuries. I think he has been in the past on that trajectory, but while he's it's weird. While he's a better player now, he's a better shooter after the leg injury from the Olympics. It's tough to say that back then, despite being a worse player, he was more likely to go with the finals. But maybe it's just because he was in the Eastern Conference. I don't know.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference wasn't very strong at that point.
Yeah, it was
the Heatles were.
Just get through LeBron.
Yeah, the Heat, the Big 3 Miami Heat super team.
But it was always the East was always get through LeBron. That's what it was.
So Kevin Durant already had 6 points.
Your first half.
I have first half 10.5 points.
Calm.
We getting there.
Calm.
Getting there. So shout out to Drew. Hopefully he does well on his exam. I know he's gonna pass. He's studying his ass off right now.
Sir.
Now let's get into the beginning of the show. First topic we have LeBron James injury. Can the Lakers still make a playoff push? Now,
maybe it's better Drew isn't here.
Lakers are the 12th seed right now. They're 29-33.
12th seed
All year, all season long. I mean, I was the only person at this table that actually did not have the Lakers in a play-in at all.
Beginning of the season?
Yeah, I didn't have the Lakers in a play-in. I had them outside of it. And I feel very good about that right now. I do. Because not only were the fit issues apparent before they made these trades, I think now that they made these trades, the team actually looks good. Before they made these trades with Westbrook and you have Lonnie Walker starting, it's just not a good team. But the other issue with the Lakers was always the injuries. We saw Anthony Davis start off playing well, all NBA level. He gets hurt. And now LeBron James with the foot injury. They're saying he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. To me, it seems like he's not going to come back until a month from now. There's only a month and a half left in the season. Anthony Davis is out tonight against OKC. Also, D'Lo's out as well. D'Lo's now catching the injury bug. I think it's just safe to say the Lakers are just not going to make the play-in game. Right now, you have the Pelicans ahead of them, the Jazz, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks. Those teams are more healthier. Although the Pelicans and Zion is injured for them currently, I like their team all around, and I think that they can kind of find a way to just, squeak in. If not, the Blazers can definitely take their spot. And I think the Blazers getting healthier with Simons and Nurkic will be a better team than the Lakers. And I'm glad about it. I am. I'm glad that the Lakers are not making the playoffs or the play-in.
My God.
And the reason
the hate is generational.
It's not even hate. It's just the fact that I am so annoyed with everybody trying to talk and prop up the Lakers every other week. I mean, we sat here before the All-Star break, and Drew was propping up the Lakers, saying they're only 2 games behind this 5th seed. They have never been able to get out they
haven't been in the play-in.
Have they ever been in the play-in since that time?
Maybe like October.
They have not been. So I get annoyed because whenever the Lakers win a game, it's a hard-fought game. They beat the Grizzlies, on a nationally televised game. Oh my goodness, this team, if they just play like this, they could win a championship. Yeah. Oh, they're a dangerous playoff team. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm just tired of it because we have so many great NBA teams and storylines. We have Jokic doing his thing. We have the Kings doing their thing. We have the Mavericks do, although they haven't gotten off to the best start. I really just say the Kings and the Nuggets because it always seems like, especially when I turn on ESPN for a little bit, it seems like all the talking heads always say, if the Lakers can manage to get into the playoffs and face the Nuggets or the Kings, they can beat them in the first round. They can have this major upset. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people propping up the Lakers into a category that they are not deserving of. And I just think that I understand the Lakers fan base is huge, and it's the exact reason why they get propped up so much. The latest example of this is Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, I've been talking about him for years on this podcast. Nobody knew how good Jared Vanderbilt was. Nobody. He plays one game for the Lakers. He's the second coming of Scottie Pippen. I mean, for me, I just think that the Lakers' allure kind of just gets annoying, and I think it's okay to admit that they're not a great team. And now with LeBron injured, their offensive efficiency with LeBron on the court is 115.1. With him off, they're 107.2. Their defensive efficiency is 111.4 with him on. With him off, they're 113.8. They have a minus 6.6 net rating with LeBron off the floor, 27th in the NBA. And mind you, their offensive efficiency without LeBron is worse than the Houston Rockets.
It's worse than the NBA.
Yes, it's the absolute worst in the NBA. It is pretty certain that they are not going to make the playoffs. And since LeBron got to LA, the Lakers are 36-63 without him, and they're 5-10 this season when he doesn't play. And I remember when the trades first happened with D'Lo and Beasley and Vando, and we had the segment about the Lakers or Clippers, who improved more at the deadline. And I still gave the Lakers criticism. And all the comments on that video was, oh, this guy's going to eat his words. The Lakers can actually compete. You know, now look at us now.
Well, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Look at us now.
Because with LeBron, they were a competitive team.
With LeBron, they were 500.
I'm saying with the new additions, a extremely small sample size that I don't want to, assume they would have gone this run, made the playoffs, even win a first round series. But I don't think that's entirely fair because when LeBron was on the court with these new pieces, we saw them come back from 27 against the Mavericks. Now, outlier game, probably, right? 27 is I think the largest in Lakers history, or largest in 30 years, whatever the stat was. And to go on with your point more about like NBA talking heads, I remember might have been the day after, 2 days after, on one of the NBA shows on ESPN, all the panelists, whoever was on there, Perk and whoever else, they were like, who would you take in this series, the Nuggets or the Lakers? And everybody on that panel took the Los Angeles Lakers. Part of that has to do with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and I understand that. But part of it also has to do, I think, with disrespect to the Nuggets, and maybe just disrespect overall. It feels like in the NBA to smaller markets. I saw something on Twitter. I wish I remember who it was. Just comparing how the NBA treats its small markets, how the NFL treats its small markets. Nobody in the NFL cares that Mahomes is on Kansas City or that Burrow's in Cincinnati. They still get the same amount of love if they were in New York, LA, whatever. The NBA doesn't really seem like that. In the NBA, if you're on the Lakers, maybe it's just a LeBron James effect. They're getting way more attention than even the Milwaukee Bucks, who are arguably the best team in the NBA this year, or the Denver Nuggets, who are in that conversation as well. But to get back to the Lakers a little bit, this playoff push went from probable to almost impossible now, right? You lose LeBron James, and as Joel, read off the stats, you are the worst offense in the NBA when he's not on the court. And some of that, obviously, a large sample size of that is with Westbrook and, not the pieces they have right now. But you're losing LeBron, and you got D'Lo, who I think is a better playmaker than Westbrook, so at least you have some sort of normalcy at the point guard position when you didn't have that pre-trade. But you're losing, your best playmaker, your best shot creator. Like, it's LeBron James, right? I don't think we have to go into incredible detail about how much he means to this Lakers team. But for Lakers fans who were expecting to go on this push, and all year long, who I was always on the fence because I understood them. You're only a couple games out of the play-in. But when you're only a couple games out of the play-in for 3 or 4 months, it's like maybe that's what you are. Maybe you just are a borderline playoff team. And we're never really going to know what this team could have been with LeBron James and Beasley and Vando and all of these pieces, because currently LeBron is going to be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. I think the timeline on this injury is 4 to 6 weeks. We're in March 1st right now. Playoff starts middle of April. It's always around Easter time. So that's going to go up. If it's the minimum, it's a month from now. You're talking about April 1st, and the Lakers have 8 games, maybe, if that, right? 2 weeks of basketball for them to get into that play-in. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think they're going to fall 8 games behind at the play-in spot, but now you're getting in a time where you have to go undefeated, you have to get help, and you're expecting LeBron to come back, being able to play 30-plus minutes and have no issues, no setbacks or anything like that. And LeBron James, for how great he is and fantastic, obviously, best basketball player of all time, if that's your opinion, he is 38. And he has had multiple foot/ankle injuries over the last couple of years, including this season, right? Just a week or two before, he was missing time right before the All-Star break, right before the Super Bowl. I know it was a big deal. He went to the Super Bowl and wasn't playing games. So he was dealing with this not exact injury, but it could have been because of that injury that he hurt his foot. And then obviously we saw in that Dallas game, he said, I heard a pop, and we hear, weeks later or a couple of days later about the news. Overall, it seems pretty hard. I don't think they're going to make the play-in. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. If some miraculous reason, and we didn't even talk about tonight, they play the Thunder, which is a huge game, a massive game. Anthony Davis isn't playing. D'Angelo Russell isn't playing. Shea isn't playing also for the Thunder, so maybe it's more of a toss-up. But when you have your two guys being AD and LeBron James, who nobody wants to predict injuries, no one wants to say guys are going to get hurt, but it's year after year after year with the Lakers. And the only year it didn't happen was the biggest outlier in probably sports history, when there is a bubble and they get 3 months off and then they get to come back fully rested. If that happens again and the Lakers get 3 months off, okay, we can have a conversation. But, knock on wood, we don't have another COVID situation where they could have months off. So when you have a team that has an aging LeBron and a brittle Anthony Davis, and as LeBron ages, he is brittle as well, you're going to have these situations. And we didn't really talk about it when these trades happened, saying, they got all these pieces, but you still got to stay healthy. We almost just assumed the health was going to be there. They would figure it out. Unfortunately for LeBron and the Lakers, it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. And then next year, entering age 39 season, it is hard to count on these Lakers year in and year out.
You know what it is? I always feel like pressure draws more interest. So for the Lakers, it feels like all year they've been between the 12th and the 13th seed. Now, they aren't that far out. Like, they're even still only 3.5 games out from the 6th seed, right? But the issue with the Lakers was always, okay, the injury concerns. And he made a great point. In their 2020 championship run, everything went right for them, right? Matchups, Russell Westbrook and James Harden didn't click. They had their injuries. Then they go to the finals to play a badly beaten, very much injured Heat team. They win a championship. Since then, basically everything went wrong for the Lakers the last 18 months, right? Bad trades, players maybe not developing like Taylor Horton-Tucker, and then just a lack of continuity. We got to the point this year where it took him the first half of the season to figure things out. This year without Anthony Davis, with LeBron, Dennis Schroeder, Pat Bev, Thomas Bryant, Troy Brown, they were a plus 18 in 250 possessions. So, you saw the glimpses of what they could be with LeBron in the fold, even without Anthony Davis. And I think it's what drew so much hope for Lakers fans. The issue now, of course, is LeBron is going to miss at least the next 2 weeks. There's only 6 weeks left in the season. I look at this Lakers team, and the good news is, for the first time in 2 years, the theory of it makes sense, right? You can win in different ways. Defensively, Vando, V8, and Anthony Davis, that is a deadly combination. I mean, in that Mavericks game, it was perfect. You could switch AD onto Luka, and you could have V8 guard all 94 feet. Offensively, you have some floor spacing. The second issue is, which is why there's so much pressure on this team, LeBron's going to be turning 40 years old in 2 years. Anthony Davis is about to turn 30. If AD can't stay healthy for at least 60 games in his 20s, in his 30s, that's not going to change. So it's probably the weirdest time for the Lakers all the way back for a decade now, because the theory of the team makes sense. But, I mean, you have a tough decision to make. Do you have to consider moving Anthony Davis? That's your best asset to maybe get a more durable fit alongside LeBron as he's hitting his twilight years.
Who is that fit, though?
Kyrie.
Yeah.
Sign trade.
AD for Kyrie.
Something along those lines.
You're not winning a championship with LeBron and Kyrie and nobody else.
Just
really.
Those two is going to be tough.
Yep.
And it's also, listen, they played the Grizzlies the other night, right? And I found this interesting because I think we all agree Grizzlies are by far the better team, right? Especially without LeBron James. I think it's without question. The Grizzlies hit 6 threes in that game, and they won by 12 points. I went to see the worst shooting team in the league is the Houston Rockets. 6 threes or less only happened to them 3 times so far this entire season. And the Lakers allowed 6 threes against the Grizzlies and still lost by double-digit points. If that goes to show you the margin for error for this Lakers, and they even shot like 38% from 3 themselves, right? Yeah. So the margin for error for this Lakers team is so incredibly small that a team could have the worst shooting night of their season and still win by double digits against this team.
I think that also there's so much dysfunction around the Lakers and there's so much talking points around them that we don't often mention that Darvin Ham is an unimpressive coach. He hasn't been very impressive or inspiring.
You and I were talking about this a month ago against the Celtics, where it felt like he's been pressing the buttons at the right times, but his lineups haven't been quite right. And just, well, he's a motivator, and that was a big talking point coming in. The fact he was a former player that the players would buy into. He hasn't actually figured it out yet. And as a rookie coach, that is very concerning for this team.
Yeah, that's why I think the Lakers are probably not going to make the play-in. Their next 10 games, you have the Thunder tonight, then the Wolves Friday, then you have the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Raptors, Knicks, Pelicans, Rockets, Mavericks, Magic. There's only one gimme. That's the Rockets. I think all those other teams are toss-ups. And that's another thing I had a problem with is that we just assume that the Lakers can run through the West and go on this insane win streak. Given how the West is this year and just the league in general, every game is tough. We look at the 11th seed right now is what? The Portland Trailblazers. They're a tough out too. And even if you get into the play-in and you're the 10th seed, you're probably going to have to face the Timberwolves or the Blazers or the Jazz or OKC maybe if they get in. It's just going to be hard. That's why I don't think the path was always like this straight.
And Timberwolves just had an impressive win. We were on playback last night watching them versus the Clippers on the road. Big win in regulation. They won pretty good.
Anthony Edwards locks up. That's why.
He said we play defense in Minnesota. I said, okay, I'd like to see that more, but
this is from Chandler, donated $4.99. Did y'all see the Rockets might pursue Harden again if he doesn't take the player option during the offseason? Now, John, you have very strong thoughts about this.
You do have very strong thoughts.
I think James Harden ruined the Rockets.
Simple
he
as
was
that.
the one that pushed Daryl Morey's hand into one of the worst trades in recent memory. That was giving up 2 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps for Russell Westbrook when Harden went dip anyways 1 year later. So now the Rockets had to rebuild. They had to trade Harden, much like the Nets. When the Nets traded all their first-round picks to the Rockets, like, damn, we're going to move Kevin Durant, and we don't even have our own first-round picks. That's the best asset you get in return for trading a superstar. For the Rockets, they trade their superstar in James Harden a year after he makes them switch from another star because he couldn't get along with Chris Paul, which I understand. They weren't the perfect fit. And now you get to a point where you're trying to get that 2021 first-round pick they had. It was a pick swap with the Thunder, so they tank so badly, and because they're tanking so hard, they shatter their culture. The head coach clearly is, let's be honest, a placeholder. They're not actually letting, like John Wall's talking about, they're not even letting him decide who a starter was, telling him he had to bench John Wall, and Wall was the only player who could relate to a Jalen Green as a former overall pick who had won at high levels before, and that has led to the Rockets' downfall. They have no culture. We don't know who their coach is going to be. And not a single veteran now wants to play there, except reportedly James Harden. How is that make any sense?
Why do you think he even wants to go? Is it like he just loves Houston? But he's not going to win.
It's nice living in Texas, too. I mean, no state income tax. One of the best cities in the world, or at least in the United States.
If James Harden, his career was like, listen, obviously he's solidified. I don't want to say like he's not in NBA history or anything like that. But if he would have had a couple of championships and maybe he's like, just want to see his way out, go back to Houston, play with some young guys, I get it. But it's not like James Harden can really do that, right? I mean, he's still trying to win a championship, his first championship. Why go back to Houston when you could go to, stay in Philly or go to another team, maybe take an MLE somewhere if he's eligible for that?
Oh, hell no. Don't just
you would not do that.
I mean, it's all about the love. I think Houston is going to make him feel loved. That's his city. That's why when you say he ruined the Rockets, that's James Harden's city. He didn't ruin the Rockets. Let's be clear here. In 2018, they had a chance to beat Golden State. Chris Paul gets injured. Mm-hmm. The very next year in the second round when they faced Golden State, Chris Paul did not show up. Mm-hmm. Chris Paul was abysmal. Chris Paul looked washed. So when Chris Paul revived his career in OKC and Phoenix, it was more of a surprise to us because people were not expecting OKC to make the playoffs. But Chris Paul went on his vegan diet. He improved his body. He played better. But let's not act like Chris Paul wasn't a major problem in 2019 in those playoffs. He did not play well. You trade for Russell Westbrook. Okay, you want to see if it can work. I'm sure Harden was on board with the idea. I'm not going to say he wasn't. But the Rockets were not going to win a championship if they kept Chris Paul. They had no cap space to make any other move. They didn't. So they were not going to win a championship with that team anyway. And then you look at when Russell Westbrook came. They traded Clint Capella because Russell Westbrook can't work with center lineups. Mm-hmm. That's not on James Harden. That's on Russell Westbrook not being able to adapt his game and now shoot at least to a respectable level. And even in the bubble, Harden averaged 30 points per game in the playoffs. Russell Westbrook was injured coming into those playoffs, but before they got hurt, they were the highest scoring duo in NBA history, Westbrook and Harden. Westbrook was having his most efficient season, but he just happened to go into the playoffs and wasn't himself. Do I blame Harden for quitting on the Rockets a year after? You look at the Rockets roster, it was an absolute joke. DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall were your marquee free agent signings with Christian Wood. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Maybe if they didn't get all the resources to acquire Russell Westbrook, that would not have been the roster. Just a thought.
Sounds like the Lakers.
Right? It sounds exactly like the Lakers. You give a star way too much power. What happens to trade for Russell Westbrook? Oh, our entire team has collapsed.
Let's not act like Russell Westbrook at the time of the trade wasn't viewed in a different light.
That's true, but
Russell Westbrook was coming off a triple-double season with Paul George.
And he couldn't make that first round.
Yeah, I know. But Russell Westbrook was not looked at in the same lens as he was looked at coming off of this Lakers tenure and this Washington tenure.
That's a fact.
Russell Westbrook was still looked at as an all-NBA player at the time. And he played at an all-NBA level at Houston. He just got hurt. So I'm saying Harden did not ruin Houston. What ruined Houston is when Tillman Fertitta came into ownership, he refused to go into the tax and keep Trevor Ariza. They desperately needed wing help. And then, I mean, come on.
Mike D'Antoni as well, he won it.
You bring in Raphael Stone, Steven Silas. Those are just unserious hires.
Why did Daryl Morey leave? Because Mike D'Antoni stepped down, because Tillman Fertitta would not pay him.
Okay, that's another great point. And that goes to Tillman Fertitta ruin the Rockets and not James Harden.
It's been a group effort.
If Daryl Morey thought that James Harden ruined the Rockets, I guarantee you he would not have been clamoring at the bits to get Harden in Philly.
Well, it's not like he was going to give Harden his keys the way he did in Houston, so it's different in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid.
Well, yeah.
Well, he still wants James Harden.
Sure.
They obviously have a great relationship. And I understand. You mentioned it perfectly. It's a group effort. They all had a hand in the Rockets' demise ultimately, but to say that James Harden single-handedly ruined the team.
Do you think Daryl Morey was willing to make that Russell Westbrook trade?
Do I think it was wrong to make it?
Do you think he was willing to?
He was willing to? I think he was.
He was forced to. His star, I mean, with 1 year left in his contract and a player option, that was his only option. He couldn't go along with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul was a negative trade asset at that time.
Yeah.
Let's not act like he was not.
And they gutted their entire future to get him, which has now led to the demise of that.
Chris Paul at that time was viewed as, man, this guy, we're giving Chris Paul $40 million in the next 2 seasons. We should probably get off of him. That's how Chris Paul was viewed. You know, I know now Chris Paul is viewed differently, but at the time he was not viewed that way. He was viewed his playoffs was horrible. And he was injured that entire year, which is the reason why Harden had to average 34 in the regular season.
That's a fact.
I just think that it was a group effort. And James Harden going back to Houston, I like it for the simple fact that he can be a mentor to these young players. And they have a lot of young talent.
You would rather that than see your guy be on a competitive team that could win a championship?
I'd rather Harden win a championship. But if he goes to Houston, he's going to get the same love and admiration that Dame's getting in Portland now. He's probably going to put up a lot of numbers, and he's going to lose, but he's going to be remembered as the greatest Rocket ever.
He's not getting the same admiration as Dame, and he's definitely not getting put in the same conversation as Hakeem. Let's get that straight. Come on now.
I never said.
Did you just say that?
The greatest Rocket ever.
Did you just say that?
I said one of the greatest Rocket ever.
Okay.
I heard greatest.
I heard greatest as well.
Greatest, whatever. If he's not one, he's 2.
I was busy looking
at
it's
Hakeem,
second round
2.
playoff series stats. I didn't get that right. So I understand where you're coming from. For the
so
Rockets,
Hakeem is 1, Harden is 2. So my bad if I say greatest. Like, he's the second. All right.
Hakeem.
Sorry.
For the Rockets, it'd be great because no other veteran wants to sign there. And teams that develop young talent have veterans, which the Rockets literally have none of right.
Just all kids.
It's like all 24-year-olds.
Yeah, and they got rid of Eric Gordon, so their oldest player is probably like Jay Sean.
Do you see they're 8-69 the last 2 years without Eric Gordon?
Yeah, but what if they get Victor Wembanyama?
What are they with him?
I don't think they're on pace to win
James
10
Harden,
games.
Jalen Green, Victor Wembanyama.
Again, Wemby now?
Şengün. I think the Rockets have a lot of talent. They just don't know how to play.
They have talent, yeah. I mean, Silas is the biggest issue there.
I think he's a symptom of their larger problems.
Which is what?
Well, first off, he should have never been hired, but more importantly, I mean, you replace Steven Silas and Kenny Atkinson, it's going to take him 3 or 4 years to rebuild where they're currently at.
Yeah, I understand.
If they get Harden?
If they get like a Kenny Atkinson, like a
I know, but I'm
proven
saying
culture
even
builder.
if they get Harden.
I mean, where are they going with James Harden nowadays? He's a great playmaker.
Playing, maybe.
Okay. Lakers are a playing team right now. How
I
do you
know.
feel?
That'll be a fun playing matchup. Lakers versus Rockets next year. Lock that in.
So the chat is saying that I did indeed say the greatest Rocket
You did.
ever.
No, you did.
Well, number 2 or whatever.
I'll be honest. I was gonna let it slide because I had a feeling, but
He's
John
the
brought it up.
second greatest Rocket ever.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I know.
Of course, Hakeem's better. He's won the championship, won 2. So he's better, but respect James Harden.
We respect him.
Please respect. No, you do not.
I don't respect the push for the rest of Westbrook trade, but I respect him as a player. I
And
respect him as a man,
Harden's
too.
been right at every step. He left Houston at the right time before they became the laughingstock of the NBA. He left the Nets at the right time. He's made the right moves. I know people love to say he's quit, but he's made the right decision wherever he's went. He's known what way these organizations are going to trend. Is that not facts?
John's looking at you crazy.
Is that not facts?
The Nets is it fell apart in the end, but who knows if they were able to keep it together. That was just an ego thing between, I don't know if ego is the right word, but just not the right fit between those three with Harden.
Harden said that he left because the front office, he was not comfortable with them, the ownership.
Is it because, sorry to cut you off, John, but is it because he's going from Houston, where he is the face of the franchise, now he's going to Brooklyn, where it's KD is the face of the franchise?
I mean, I don't know. I think Kevin Durant is the only guy who has a strong relationship with ownership and management in Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving, James Harden have had awful experiences with them.
They're also not viewed as the guys. KD.
I'll take the 66% chances of what they say is, the Nets probably aren't the best organization.
Did KD say that? I'm curious. I don't know. I'm generally asking.
No, KD has just said good things
right?
about the organization.
It could be just,
They
guys
traded,
just being
they
the
traded
guy.
him to where he wanted to go and got little to nothing for him. You know what I'm saying? KD's happy. They traded him to his destination.
Fact.
Real quick, the logic you used before that every decision James Harden's made, he's been right. I can apply that to Antonio Brown. The Steelers have not won a playoff game since he's left. The Raiders have been irrelevant since he left. The Patriots have not won a playoff game. And the Buccaneers won a Super Bowl with him. They haven't been back to the Super Bowl without him. So I can use that same logic with AB.
Yo, why is he spitting?
That's not even facts. It's not even correlate. And AB's doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, AB's
Oh,
just
yeah, I'm not
lunatic.
comparing
James
that, but I'm
Harden.
saying
James
you can apply
Harden
that.
just made somebody's day. I mean, did you see
I did.
James
That was
Harden?
an amazing
that was-
story.
I mean, come on, what are you talking about? AB would never do that.
Well, I said before, I respect him as a man and a player.
AB has been trolling Tom Brady.
Yeah, the logic is right. The player probably not the best idea.
That's why I said logic.
Nikola Jokic. How much pressure is on him to win an NBA championship this season? And do you think the pressure is fair? Today, something big in ESPN happened where Kendrick Perkins was talking about Jokic because JJ Redick called him out on his stat padding Jokic take. And, first of all, I think the stat padding thing is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
So dumb.
I think there is a lot of pressure for Nikola Jokic to win an NBA championship. And it's not because he's this playoff underperformer. No, he's an elite level playoff performer. But it's the fact that if you win 3 MVPs, you're in elite company. 3 players that have won 3 MVPs. Moses Malone, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson won a championship as a rookie. Larry Bird won in his 2nd season. Malone won in his 9th season. Jokic is currently in his 8th season. The expectation for Jokic is to win an NBA championship. The Nuggets are the 1st seed in the Western Conference. They look like the best team in the West. And I think a finals appearance at the very least, there is a lot of pressure on Jokic to make that.
Without a doubt. I mean, right now,
It's your guy.
Jokic is the front runner for MVP. And it's a close race, but I mean, the guy's leading the league in true shooting while taking 15 shots a game. I mean, the Nuggets are a plus 14 or plus 15, and they're the number 1 seed. It's kind of weird to me how every step of the way people have tried to tear Nikola Jokic down. When they went to the conference finals after coming back from down two times in back-to-back series 3-1, everyone said the following season that they wouldn't come back. And they're right on pace to be a team going to the conference finals until Jamal Murray tore his ACL. So, okay, Murray tears his ACL, and then Jokic wins 46 games with a team that without him would have been the worst team in the league last year. He wins MVP as a 6th seed, and people say, oh, well, the guy can't win the regular season. He doesn't deserve MVP. This year, Jokic is the number 1 seed now that Murray's back. And everybody's saying, Kendrick Perkins, in his mind, he's stat padding, which we don't spend too much time on that. But the other logic is that Jokic has to win an NBA championship, like you said, in order to merit being a 3-time MVP. Because you get that, you're in the company of Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird, the second player to ever do it in the media voting age. So I understand that. That's true. Jokic is the same player who has perennially, with never playing with an all-star in his entire career, by the way, overachieved in the playoffs, beating the Portland Trailblazers with a starting backcourt of Facu Campazzo and Austin Rivers.
Ugly.
And there's Marcus Howard coming off the bench, too. So every step of the way, Jokic is as a number 41 or 41st overall pick, exceeded expectations. And this year, the logic is that number one, people are going to tear him down because team hasn't won the championship yet, which we'll see in June. But the second thing is, people always want to compare him to Joel Embiid, who, in theory, is the much better defender. I'm done with it. I understand exactly where that question will come from. Jokic has to do it in the postseason. And when I look at this Western Conference, the two things the Nuggets have over everybody else is, number one, their superstar is incredibly durable. And the second thing is that they know exactly who they are. They've proven themselves in the playoff crucible, and they've maximized the horses around Jokic on both sides of the ball. There's not a team with more continuity, a better fit, and while I'm not the highest in Michael Malone per se, more stability in this Denver team. They're not perfect, right? There's some issues with their second lineup, and defensively, it's a little bit atypical to see a traditional, more slow 7-footer win a championship. When you look at this conference, it is very clear to me that the Nuggets should be the clear frontrunner. There's no other reason to have the Suns, given all their durability questions ahead of them. They're beating the Hornets by 16 right now. I thought they were losing.
I mean, doesn't Denver have similar durability questions with
Not
Jamal
to
Murray and
superstar level.
MPJ? That's facts.
Like Kevin Durant has missed a lot of time, and Devin Booker has this hamstring injury. Chris
That's a
Paul
fact.
has his injuries.
But we've
injuries
seen
right here.
the last couple of years, KD gets hurt like middle of the season, and he comes back and he's fine. You know?
Not last year in the playoffs, but yeah, I agree with you.
What do you mean? Last year in the playoffs, he was healthy. He didn't have a great series, I know, but it's
Yeah.
not like he was hurt.
Wait, who?
KD.
KD.
Last year in the playoffs, he came back, and the entire team just collapsed. And I thought a lot of that was due to continuity, in part to his and Kyrie's absence.
Yeah. I think Jokic is difficult because, first of all, the Perkins stuff, I feel like people have difficulty, and it's weird coming from Perkins, who is a big man himself, maybe giving credit to big men who aren't flashy, right? Jokic isn't out there making 9 threes a night and having these crazy dunks and, ball handling, all this stuff that we see from other MVPs, the LeBrons and KDs and whatnot, who maybe are a bit more appealing to the eye. So I think that's why he gets some pushback, at least in terms of like MVP or people saying that he doesn't deserve MVP. I think more than anything, it's just they don't like what they see with their eyes. We know he produces, but it's just not as entertaining to some people than it is for other guys, especially wings and guards who are just more fun to watch, I guess, if you're I don't want to say casual NBA fan, but if you just watch the NBA, right? And it's almost not fair to Jokic because if he does win 3 MVPs, right? If he does win his third, which, like you guys mentioned it, he is the favorite right now, and the pretty heavy favorite too. I think he's like around minus 270 or something, right? Last time I checked. I mean, he's going to be entering conversation with some of the best players in NBA history. And the obvious biggest thing he's missing right now is that playoff success, a finals appearance, a championship nonetheless. And when you look back at his history, and as you mentioned, right, sometimes he got unlucky. Jamal Murray tears his ACL. Michael Porter Jr. has been in and out of the lineup basically his whole career. And you look at the most he's done was in the bubble. He took the Lakers to 5 games, right? Respect for getting one. I'll give him your respect. We always say you're a superstar. Get 1 game. So you got to give him respect for that. But I understand the little pushback there when there is questions, especially in today's modern NBA. If your best player is a big man, what is your ceiling? What can you possibly do? Like we see with Embiid, he gets all the shit in the world for never getting past the second round. Jokic, he got past the second round one time in the bubble against the Lakers. But I do think it's fair to question it when your big man is your best player because it does limit you to an extent in terms of offensively being able to play make. Although Jokic is just a complete outlier because he is the offense, right? And that's usually not the case for big men. But I think the reason why it's okay to be lenient for Jokic, especially in his previous history in the playoffs, is just because he's gotten unlucky. Like I mentioned, Jamal Murray tearing your ACL, and you have Compazzo and Austin Rivers out there, and it's just an ugly starting lineup that truthfully should not be a playoff team, if we're being honest. If Jokic wasn't so great, we're looking at it as one of the worst teams in the NBA. And then Michael Porter Jr., who is without a doubt valuable to his team, like no question about it, but a back injury, who's been, since the day he got drafted, one of his biggest red flags throughout his career. And although he's been mostly healthy this season, him and Jamal Murray did miss some time right before the All-Star break, but mostly been healthy this year. And we see now with Jokic and with Jamal Murray entering year 4 or 5, same thing with Michael Porter Jr. As these guys are aging a little bit more and entering their prime, we do see the upside, at least regular season, for this Nuggets team, which is the best team in the NBA, one of the best offenses in the NBA, and marginally improving on defense, right? They're not a train wreck by any means. They're not the Kings. They're not the 25th ranked defense or whatever. They've been getting better as the season goes on. The last couple of seasons, right? I think it's safe to say Jokic's been carrying this team. His two best players, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., were basically unavailable last season. Obviously, Jamal Murray tearing his ACL. And in 2021, he lost to the Suns, went to the finals. In 2022, he lost to the Warriors. They went to the finals. I can't look at the team Jokic was on and say, you know what? He's underperforming. It's bullshit that he's not getting here. He can't be MVP. Those teams are better. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, those two teams are simply better team than the Denver Nuggets were that season. So that's why you can't put them on the same pedestal maybe as these other top 3 MVP guys, because although they were obviously great, or excuse me, not top 3 MVP, but guys who have won 3 MVPs, the Larry Birds and Michael Jordans and all that, because their teams were also usually better than the opposing team. In this case, it wasn't really the case for the Nuggets, right? They were always the inferior team going up against teams that went to the finals and going up against a dynasty like the Warriors. So I think this year is the year that it could all be put to rest, because you have, assuming health, you have Jamal Murray, Michael Porter healthy, assuming they're going to be healthy for this whole season. You have role players around him, Bruce Brown, KCP, Aaron Gordon. So I think this is the first year most people feel comfortable saying they are the favorites, and most people are starting, at least I hope, are coming around saying that Jokic can be the best player on a championship team since she is such an outlier of a big man. But this is really going to be the year. If he's able to go to the finals, either I think go is going to be good enough in appearance, or even win the finals, obviously gets put to rest. But this is the year. Everyone's healthy. There's no excuses. There's no super team in the West. Go get it done. Make the finals.
With performance comes expectations. It's unfortunate how the narrative around Jokic has shifted, because we have totally forgotten his origins. 41st pick in the draft. He was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. That's how much attention they gave to him. They gave him no attention at all. For a guy like that to be a 2-time MVP, to be one of the best centers in NBA history, he is the best passing center in NBA history. People seem to forget that this guy was not supposed to be in this position. And instead of praising where he's currently at, we constantly move the goalposts and say, you know what? He shouldn't be a 3-time MVP because the playoff success isn't there. Let me debunk all these playoff narratives, because I think they're just ridiculous and they're stupid. The narrative that Jokic is this playoff underperformer or hasn't lived up to expectations in the postseason is just wrong. He's been to the playoffs 4 times. His first appearance, he averaged 25, 13, and 8 on 50, 39, 84 splits. 1 game away from the Western Conference Finals. In Game 7 versus Portland in the second round, he had 29 and 13, and he averaged 27, 14, and 8 in that series. And that's with Dame averaging 34 points in that series. I think that was the series after in the bubble where Dame averaged that. My apologies. Jokic's second playoff appearance, he averaged 24, 10, and 6, shot 52, 43, 83 splits, made the Western Conference Finals. In his second playoff appearance with a healthy team, he made the conference finals, came back from 2 3-1 deficits, and he lost in the conference finals to the NBA champions. His third playoff appearance, he averaged 30, 12, and 5 on 51, 37, 83 splits. He beat the Blazers in the first round with the starting backcourt of Facundo Campazzo and Austin Rivers, which would be the worst starting backcourt of any team in the NBA that season. And in that series, Dame averaged 34 and 10. So Jokic had to match Dame's star power, arguably be better, and still come out on top in that series. And then in the second round, you lose to the Suns, and they go and make the NBA Finals. And then your fourth appearance, you averaged 31, 13, and 6 with no Jamal Murray, no MPJ, and you managed to win a game against the Warriors, who only 2 teams in the playoffs managed to do. The Celtics and the Memphis Grizzlies were the only 2 teams to win more than 1 game against the Warriors. The Mavs lost in 5s and the Nuggets lost in 5, and that's with no Jamal Murray and no MPJ. What this tells me is that, for one, Nikola Jokic's numbers in the playoffs are elite level. He's one of the best playoff performers currently in the NBA.
Jalen Brunson level.
His second season, he lost to the NBA champions. His third season, he lost to the team that made the finals out the West. His fourth appearance, he lost to the NBA champions. He's not getting bounced out by inferior teams. He's getting bounced out by teams that are better. But now, Right now, the Nuggets are in a position where they are the superior team to the bunch. I think in the Eastern Conference, when you talk about the Celtics and Bucks, those are teams that might have the edge over Denver slightly. But I think in the West, the Suns are the only team that can match the Nuggets and that can actually beat them in a series. But this narrative that Jokic doesn't show up in the playoffs is ridiculous because he's an elite level playoff performer. And I just hate these narratives about the stat padding because, for example, Kendrick Perkins, and I hear this talking point a lot. Oh, when Russell Westbrook got the triple-double, all you guys did was slander him. If you didn't agree with that, like if you didn't agree with Westbrook getting slandered for his triple-doubles, then why are you now doing it to Jokic? Just because people did it to Westbrook? So I'm going to hit you because you hit John? Like, what does that? It doesn't make any sense. Two wrongs don't make a right. If you honestly believe Westbrook shouldn't be getting slandered for his triple-doubles, I don't think he was stat padding. I know that's a narrative out there. If you don't believe Westbrook deserved that criticism, then why are you going and you're doing it to Nikola Jokic? If you believe things should be fair, you should actually analyze the game of basketball how it's supposed to be analyzed. I think Jokic and Westbrook's triple-doubles both are valid. If you were to ask me whose triple-doubles are more impressive, I would say Jokic because his triple-doubles to me feel like more in the flow of the game rather than, I wouldn't say force, but Westbrook, the usage rate, the efficiency. I mean, his usage rate was at an all-time high. Yeah. Jokic's usage rate is, a third of that. So because of that, I think his triple-doubles are more impressive. And on top of that, he's the first seed right now. So that's why I think just because Westbrook had these triple-doubles and he got criticized for them doesn't mean that you have to now criticize Jokic, especially if you were on the team of defending Westbrook for his triple-doubles. I just don't think it makes much sense.
And one really interesting thing, there's a stat dating back to last year. In the 28 games Nikola Jokic has recorded a triple-double, they've won every single one. Dating back to that last year. Yeah. And you talked about the goalpost moving, right? With Jokic, every teammate, every role player he's had, he's made better. Will Barton last year was averaging 16 points per game. He goes to Washington, and he's getting bought out. Monte Morris was the best backup point guard in the league that was good enough to start with Jokic. He goes to Washington, and he can barely start.
Might be Washington, that's true.
Contavious Caldwell-Pope goes, having the best year of his career. KCP has played with LeBron James. He's had a better year now, 3 years older. Then talk about Aaron Gordon. In Orlando, every Magic fan was done with Aaron Gordon. This year, he was a borderline all-star. You then look at Bones Highland. Bones Highland last year was helping them win a playoff game versus the Warriors. This year, he came against the floor versus the Clippers. All Jokic does is make his teammates better. And defensively, where people like to throw a lot of flack at him, I get it. Look, he's not the best defender. He's average, maybe slightly above average, right? He has his deficiencies when you put a lot on his plate. The Nuggets this year have the second best defensive rating in clutch time. The first best is Philadelphia with Joel Embiid. They're the best team in clutch, best team in the Western Conference. And we're finally seeing it, like you made the point before.
And to your point, I think that the narrative about Jokic being a bad defender is lazy because people just see how he looks and think he's bad. He's one of the best centers at playing the passing lanes in the NBA. He gets the most steals of any center in the NBA currently because he's that good in the passing lanes. Yes, he's not the rim protector of a Joel Embiid, but he's definitely not a slouch either. Jokic is a solid defender. He's not great. He's not elite, but he's solid, and he's not this liability everybody likes to paint him out to be.
Yeah, and one more thing. He had 3 game-winning blocks last year. Joel Embiid has won this year. You got Mark Jones, who's I think you might be a media voter on Twitter saying, I like my MVP can't play defense. Same thing with John Morant, because he got a game-winning block. Jokic did that 3 separate times last year against 2 playoff teams. Do you guys think Jokic is the clear MVP?
Yeah.
I do.
Giannis is interesting. If they keep winning these fucking games with 14 in a row, he's going to enter that conversation for sure because they could end up with the best record in the NBA. But I think it's between those two. And do you think the Suns are the only matchup? The Warriors at all moves you?
No.
Healthy Steph, healthy Wiggins, best net rate in the league when those 5 guys are on the court.
The Warriors do.
Slightly,
Absolutely.
but I historically, teams that have won the NBA championship finished with the top 3 record of their conference.
40-20 rule. Got to win 40 before you lose 20. And the Warriors did not hit that.
I just don't think the Warriors are going to win a championship this year.
I don't think so either, but they could. I don't know.
That's maybe valid, but what team has the highest ceiling in the Western Conference?
The Suns.
If everything clicks with them.
And after them, it's probably Golden State. This starting lineup is a
Wait, so you don't think Denver's in that conversation?
No, I think Denver's over Golden State.
I think the Warriors are right there, but let's not act like when Steph, Clay, Draymond, Kevin Looney, and Andrew Wiggins are on the floor this year, the Warriors still are on a plus 22 and 700 possessions. Yeah. Now, the question with this team is that Andrew Wiggins is not defending at that level where he was at a borderline all-league level a year ago. I think Gary Payne as well. We're not sure where he's going to be at, but that starting lineup is elite. Off the bench, Dante DiVincenzo has been great. I really think it comes down to Jordan Poole being that X factor, which he has not been consistently this year. Yeah. Jordan Poole will determine whether or not this Warriors team goes to the conference finals or if they're eliminated in the first round. That and Steph Curry being
and
healthy.
with Jokic, it's more than just steals. Right now, in total deflection in the NBA, he's 6. Mm-hmm. Guys above him are Fred VanVleet, DeJounte, OG, SGA, and Alex Caruso. Nikola Jokic is a good defender. You know,
in the regular season, he's good. The playoffs are where we draw our questions against the most elite offenses, which is okay. You know, he's not Joel Embiid defensively, and we can accept that while praising his impact on offense.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned a great point about how Jokic has made his teammates better. Mm-hmm. Aaron Gordon and KCP are 2 examples. And on top of that, not to make this like a comparison thing, although I'm about to do that, when you look at Russell Westbrook, the growing narrative around him is that players leave him and get better.
It's fact.
It's not the same thing with Jokic. You know, I think...
Although players always want him back.
Yeah.
You know, Paul George.
Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I think that there is a lot of pressure for Jokic to make the finals this season. Mm-hmm. And I think even if the Nuggets don't make it, it's going to be because KD goes ballistic against them in the series.
That's a tough matchup. Yeah. That mid-range shooting was a problem 2 years ago. And they had KD.
And I don't think that even if Murray was healthy in that Suns series, he changes that series.
No.
Yeah, I think that Jokic was the biggest liability in that series defensively. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting matchup. Yeah. But I think the Nuggets definitely have a chance to make the finals. And I think that he gets too much pushback, to be honest.
Agreed. One last thing. If Jokic gets the triple crown this year, MVP, championship, and finals MVP, is he a top 20 player of all time?
Jokic?
Top 20.
Probably. If Giannis is already in that conversation, people are having that with Giannis, so Jokic should definitely be there. He's going to have 3 MVPs back to back to back.
This is Dirk, Jerry West, Kevin Garnett, that type of company.
I think he's over Dirk if he gets that.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a longevity thing,
might be over all those guys.
I mean, y'all better hope he hasn't won a championship.
But you're not even a Jokic fan.
I am.
He's a diehard Jokic fan.
I have like 4 NBA jerseys. He's like the second one I got.
Who was the first?
Devin Booker.
Okay.
Well, actually, I got a Carmelo one as a kid. Melo and Darren Williams.
Well,
I'm actually a Suns
Knicks?
fan now.
You're gross.
Yeah, I'm a Suns fan.
Must be nice.
Nah, my girl's a Suns fan. You know what I'm saying? So I root for them.
Okay.
I told you when Katie got traded, I got traded to the Phoenix.
I know.
Phoenix too.
It is gross.
Let's
I'm
go.
not gonna lie.
KD,
I'm not
baby.
tapping you. No.
John, KD, baby.
We'll do it. Santos comments. Both Joel's wearing the same T-shirts. Close. It's the same palette. But
he's got the through the wire one. I need the through the wire one. I just got some regular navy shirt on.
Yeah.
Through the wire one. It's just tough.
It is tough. I saw Pee Wee wear the pick a side hoodie. You know, I had to come on with the through the wire shirt now.
That was me on the pick a side admin. I was watching. I was like, oh shit.
Forgot to crop, bro.
Huh?
You forgot to crop.
Oh no. I saw it. I was like, I'm just gonna let this fly.
Damian Lillard just had a 71-point game. He hit 13 threes in that game in 39 minutes. 8th player to score 70 points or more in a game. The second one this season. Mitchell had 71 against the Bulls earlier this year. And we talked about it yesterday, John, on the Joel Moran show. You know, after the Clippers and Wolves games, we went on for a little bit. We talked about it. Now, listen. I'm done with making Damian Lillard mock trades. I think he's staying and he's retiring in Portland. And I'm over it. And listen, I can't blame him because Dame recently said the grass isn't always greener, and he pointed to Russell Westbrook being an example of how the grass isn't always greener, and he made a valid point. Russell Westbrook is on his 4th team in the last 4 seasons. He's undoubtedly a Hall of Fame player, and OKC fans still cherish and love Westbrook. It's these other fan bases that are left with a sour taste in their mouth, and Dame, I think, is making the right decision. Because I think in the modern NBA, all we look at is a player winning championships, and we define their career a lot by winning. But Damian Lillard has made $230 million in his career with the Blazers. He just signed a 2-year extension that's going to put him well over $300 million. He has the money. His entire family's in Portland, his wife, his kids. he doesn't want to relocate them. And I think you always have to take that into account. We always look at the basketball side of things, but this is a family side of things. And I think there's a reason why Dame doesn't want to leave Portland. He's already Portland's all-time leading scorer. He's had multiple memorable playoff games, playoff game winners. While I don't think he's the best Blazer of all time, I think that's Clyde Drexler. Dame is definitely top 3. And why leave security, familiarity, community for a chance to win a championship when it's not even guaranteed? We're not even sure if you're going to win a championship. And I always go back to this interview that Kevin Durant had with Chris Haynes on Bleacher Report, where Kevin Durant talked about his legacy, and he said, "My legacy is predicated on what Cam Thomas is learning from me and what he'll take away to help him by the time he's in his 10th year. That's my legacy." I think Dame is adopting that same mindset to his career. He values being a mentor. Look at the Blazers right now. Players such as Anthony Simons, Dame very early on said he was going to be a star player. He's mentored him this entire way, and now Anthony Simons is a star in his own right. Shaedon Sharpe is up and coming. Nasir Little has kind of turned around his career and is now an impactful role player. Cam Reddish, maybe there's some hope for him in Portland. Keon Johnson, Watford. I think it's important for Dame to try and win at the highest level, but also I think he is okay, and he wants to set the foundation for future Blazers teams and wants to be remembered in that way. And because of that, I'm fine with him not wanting to force a trade and leave Portland. I think he's going to retire a Blazer, and he's going to be a legend. You know, maybe in NBA history, we're not going to remember him like a Steph Curry or other all-time great players, but he will be remembered as one of the faces of the Blazers franchise, and he could possibly get a statue in Portland too.
So he deserves one.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's exactly what's going to separate Damian Lillard from every other All-NBA guard. When you look at the most loyal players in NBA history, Dirk, Kobe, who at one point requested a trade, Kevin Garnett, who eventually also got traded to Boston, none of them stuck with the team when things look so bleak. And when you talk about Dame, number one, right now, he's a first-team All-NBA player. You can make a case by the end of his career, he'll be a top 10 point guard of all time because of his big-time moments and that, for a decade, elite-level play. The fact that in an era where teams are switching more than ever and player movement has reached an all-time high, Dame is the one star that is relevant enough to say, I could have went to a Milwaukee or Phoenix or Dallas, any of these teams, and selfishly, I would love it as well an NBA fan, getting to see an all-time guard in the highest of stakes, because Dame has not played with an all-star since 2015. He was 22 years old, or 23. He's 32 now. But that's exactly what makes him so unique. While selfishly, it can be frustrating, Blazer fans love it for the simple fact that you do not see stars so loyal to such a small market. And in part, that's because just day to day, he loves it. It's great for his family. But I think at a certain point, man, we have to just acknowledge the fact he's never going to be traded. And that's okay. Like, we can appreciate what he's doing now as basketball fans. The fact that he's dropped 71 points in 4 quarters of basketball, having 1 3-pointer shy of Klay Thompson's 3-point record, he is going to be one of the most underappreciated NBA players, but his legacy should age so well because of how badass it is.
Yeah.
He never left. And you know what? Maybe if the Blazers can get these young guys to develop in time, he can have one of those playoff runs and maybe go to a conference finals and end on a high note like a Reggie Miller. That would be really special.
And not to change the subject, but the Joel Moran burner's back?
It is back. I saw the
Okay.
comments. I'm glad that it is back.
I know. Do you think he just took a break because you took a break?
No, because he wasn't tweeting before that.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. But I'm glad that he's back. If you're watching the Joel V. Moran burner, I want you to keep tweeting.
Also, Sam Hauser was just locking up Darius Garland. Anyway, Damian Lillard, 13 3-pointers, 60% on those 3-pointers. 13 for 22, I think it was. Just absolute stupid numbers. Only shot 14 free throws, made all of them, got the win. 2 turnovers as well. Like, Damian Lillard is this was probably the most impressive performance of the season. I think this is over Donovan Mitchell, taking into account overtime. Efficiency, I don't remember off the top of my head how efficient Donovan Mitchell was.
80% shooting for Dame.
God damn. 80% is fucking 2K numbers. And I think his comments after the game was the most interesting. First of all, he got a drug test right after the game, and he was not happy about that. He said how he hates getting blood drawn, even though he's, completely tatted up. Doesn't like needles, I should say. But then he also said, you guys shouldn't let me win a championship if I'm in Portland. And I understand that for Dame, because that's really the only thing lacking on his resume is going to a finals, having consecutive success in the playoffs. And I understand his frustration because it's almost always the same story or same narrative around Damian Lillard. He is the most loyal player, arguably, in the NBA. He's one of the most underrated players, like you mentioned, at the end of his career, going to be one of the most underrated players, one of the best scorers, one of the best three-point shooters. But one thing that's never going to be said about Damian Lillard, as long as he stays in Portland, is he's not an NBA champion. And I think that's okay, right? I think that's fine that, not every player, actually majority of players are never going to win an NBA championship. But when you are one of the best players of all time, right, top 75, when you do have some of these ridiculous seasons and you're thought of as one of the best players in the NBA, I think fans, media, front office people, there's everyone around the NBA is expecting you to win a championship. They're expecting you to get there. They're expecting you to put on for those big moments. And I think that's maybe the disconnect between us as viewers of the game and Damian Lillard as the human being. Because, like, going back to Joel's point, I think that matters more than him to win the championship. I think he obviously has a home in Portland. And you saw after the game, right? He drops the 70 points. All the players are coming over, pouring water and Gator on him, just going crazy. I think people are saying, like, he's the GOAT, right? I think that matters more than anything to him, right? And a lot of us get, I don't know if confused is the right word, but maybe obsessed with championships and obsessed with guys.
Culture.
Was it rings culture? Yeah, facts. Yeah. Just obsessed with guys winning championships, and with all the player movement with KD and LeBron and all guys moving teams to find ways to win championships. When we see someone not do that and stay in a situation that is less than ideal, and you have your number 2 and CJ McCollum get traded, now you have Simons come in. We're almost expecting them to ask out. We're expecting them to request a trade, or expecting them to go somewhere else because you got to win a championship. This is your time to go. But I think more importantly for Dame, it's just he's happy in Portland, man. He wants to be there. His family's there, like you mentioned, Joel. Like, he made a home here, and that's where he ultimately wants to be. So, impressive performance. I mean, one of the most impressive performances you're going to see in NBA history. Who knows, maybe someday, years down the line, someone could drop 100 because that's what it feels like this NBA is going to. We had two 70-point games this season. And if it's true that Damian Lillard doesn't want to get traded, or maybe it's more likely, I think we should say, that they get a second star. They do have draft picks. I think they have a couple extra firsts down the road. And Simons is probably that one player you could package. And Mikal Bridges and picks get you KD. Simons and picks could get you something. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not KD, but that shouldn't have got KD regardless. But that could probably get you something. Simons and a bunch of picks. Hopefully Portland in these last few years with Damian Lillard playing at his absolute peak basketball can bring in a second superstar. Because like you guys mentioned, it doesn't seem like he's leaving Portland.
And I think that's just an analogy for life. Sometimes you got to be content with what you have.
It's a fact.
And Dame has a lot. He's made $200+ million.
Yeah, the money's not even a question anymore.
And has a home in Portland. I think also people always look at a player that doesn't win a championship, but I'd much rather be Dame, a player who the organization loves you so much that you won't get moved, versus players that are constantly getting moved around the NBA. Like, there are so many players around the NBA that wish they could stay with one organization their entire career and they don't have to worry about getting traded.
Yeah.
And Dame is somebody who's very secure in his spot. He's secure in what the organization wants and how much they want to keep him. And he has those same values.
I have two more notes. So Kirk Goldsberry had this stat. Dame had 420 feet worth of shot makes in that game, which no other player has done since tracking data started back a decade ago. The second thing, though, is, let's be honest. If Dame's production dropped to a point where it was regressing, the Blazers don't act like any franchise. They would move him. Let's be honest. The Blazers are not that tied into Dame because, any franchise, you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And now it's best for Dame. So I don't know if that's true. I disagree with that. Now, of course, they won't move him because he's playing at a top 10, top 12 level. But at the moment he starts to fall back like a Bradley Beal, it's top 25, top 30, I'm more than willing to bet they will look to explore their options.
For $60 million, the team's going to do that?
No one would, but that's exactly why they would, because of how much he's making. So I don't think
that's exactly why no team would.
Superstar.
I think. The Superman.
I think Portland would be willing to move him, without a doubt.
So you think he doesn't stay at Portland for his entire career?
I do, because no one's going to give a good enough offer for him. But that's not to say if one sucker did, gives up 3 first-round picks in 2 or 3 years, that they wouldn't trade him. Because I'm more than willing to bet they would. Oh, yeah.
But you mentioned that, but I think this is a similar situation to Dallas. Dirk was washed his last couple of seasons. Dallas kept him. They did not move him. You don't think that same loyalty applies to Portland and Dame?
Dirk won a championship, won the finals twice, an MVP. I think there was a lot more gravitas for Dirk after that 2011 run than.
You don't think there's a lot of gravitas with Dame and just him staying in Portland?
Clearly, there's a difference between one Western Conference Finals appearance and an MVP plus.
I'm not saying there's
not
not a difference, but I'm saying you don't think that same loyalty will apply to Dame for the Blazers?
Not as much, no.
Okay.
Dirk is different.
But
at
you
that
still
point,
believe that he'll stay with Portland for his entire
Dirk
career?
was 36 years old.
Okay. But you still believe Dame will be in Portland for his entire career?
Most likely.
Okay.
You think it's more likely that Portland trades him rather than Dame going to Portland?
Yeah, I think it's more likely Portland would move him. Yeah.
I think he's going to retire a Blazer.
I think so too.
I have a Would You Rather Dame edition.
Here we go.
Yeah, this is going to have a mixture of some all-time point guards and some current ones.
Okay.
Mostly just all-time, though.
Okay.
This is Would You Rather Damian Lillard edition. First name up. This is all-time edition. Russell Westbrook.
Dame.
Yeah, I would go Dame. Westbrook has the MVP, which is the only reason I hesitate, but Dame was a better player.
Who would I rather have in my team?
It's a fact.
Listen, I think Russell Westbrook, MVP, can't disrespect that. Made the finals with KD. They were very young, and I think if James Harden stays in OKC, they win a championship ultimately. Just given Dame's range, how he can fit into any offensive system seamlessly, I would go with Dame. But I think when we talk about resume, Russell Westbrook does have a better resume than Dame.
Yeah. Maybe it would help if he got to play Kevin Durant, LeBron, and Paul George.
Well, he didn't play with them and he won MVP.
Well, that's
Dame
went
has
the
no
furthest in the
MVP.
playoffs. Well, I'm saying if Dame got to play with Kevin Durant, I think he would probably win a championship.
Maybe. You never know.
We're
It
never
could have
gonna
never
know.
happened. But I'm saying that individually, Westbrook does have a better resume, though.
Oh, yeah, big
That
time.
MVP, no doubt. Steph Curry.
Steph.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, this is easy.
Come on.
This is easy, Steph. Chris Paul.
Ooh, man.
All time, man. I'm going with Chris Paul over Dame. I am.
I'm going Dame.
He's made multiple teams better, whether it's been the Hornets when he got drafted in 08, he was an MVP candidate. He went to the Clippers. He went to the Suns, OKC, and the Rockets almost won the finals, but he got hurt in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. I'm going with Chris Paul all time. I am. Defensively, has multiple all defensive teams. Give me Chris Paul.
You took Dame.
Think about it. Two guys that will carry your team to the playoffs almost every single year at their peak. But with Dame, it's different because Chris Paul broke down every year, I felt like.
Towards the end.
Dame
Dame's
looked
longevity.
Looked like he broke down later in the playoffs. He was Game 7 versus the Nuggets in the second round.
Yeah,
he had 13 points. He has stinkers.
I think I would
Paul don't got that.
slightly lean Chris Paul, but that's the closest one so far.
Give me Dame Dollar.
Man, he's a president of the moment type of guy, man. CP3, respect him, man.
Oh, I do. I mean, it's a tough one. It's awesome.
Steve
You
Nash.
said Dame pretty
By the way,
confidently.
Chris Paul's top 3-point guard of all time, so it's pretty tough. I'm thinking at their peak.
If he's a
At
top
their
3-point guard of all time,
at their
what are we
peak, it's
what are we
easily
talking
CP.
about then?
Well, this is not resume. This is who I'd rather have. And Dame Dame has not played with an All-Star in 9 years.
This is an all-time, though. This is not just
Yeah, I
like
feel
right
like
now.
when we do all time, it's not more so who would you rather have. It's like we'd bring accolades.
Who would you rather
into
have
it
at their
and-
peak?
Taking Dame.
All right, cool.
I'd probably still lean Chris Paul.
Steve Nash.
Again, like when you bring accolades into it and everything.
This is what makes it tough, the accolades.
Because
I think Steve
all-time
Nash in this
MVP.
era with how many threes he'd shoot could be like a 22 plus and 10 guy.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'll
Dame's
take
like
Steve
a
Nash, man.
30 and 8 guy. It's just tough.
Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP.
Yeah, if I'm saying consistent, I guess. But
I gotta
like
go with
again,
Nash.
if
I
I
touched
just
myself
want
in the
someone on
hole
my
here.
team, I'd rather have Dame. But at
Over
his-
the ultimate point guard than Steve Nash?
yeah, in today's NBA,
I dug myself in a hole taking Dame over CP.
I feel like
But I
I
draw back.
I feel like I
stand
dug
with my
myself
word.
taking CP over Dame. Because now I feel like it's easier for you to keep the same logic. It's like, who would I rather on my team? It's Dame.
I mean, Steve Nash right now, wouldn't he just be like a better version of Trae Young in
Not
today's
as
NBA?
not as dynamic a score, but
He,
in
if
terms
he
of
took
playing,
more
efficient,
shots,
he'd
he
be
could,
He'd be
though.
way more efficient.
Oh man, I can't take Steve Nash, but
I think Steve Nash in this era could be like 24 and 11, bro. Like in this era,
That's a fact. It's
bro,
hard.
with
That's
his
why it's so
three-point-
hard to compare
he
these
was
hours.
a 40% three-point shooter. I think if he took more threes in this era, man, he would go crazy.
I think slightly into Steve Nash again.
if I could go back, I would take CP over Dame, and I'm also going to take Steve Nash over Dame.
You're taking Nash over Dame.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an edit if I'm allowed to. I gotta respect my guy Chris Paul, but it's tough because Dame never had that opportunity to play at the
We're gonna edit that in the TikTok.
And Nash had an opportunity to win a championship too. And I think it was 06 or 07. I think it was the 07 Suns.
Really bad luck they had.
Yeah, 07 Suns, they were a championship team for sure. Jason Kidd.
I'm taking Dame personally, but that's tough. That's really tough.
Look, the stats are going to lean Dame, no doubt. But you talk about Jason Kidd's defense, his playmaking. He took 2 teams to the NBA Finals.
Fuck.
I don't know, man. I'm going to go Jason Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just got to keep the same logic. Now that I took Steve Nash and Chris Paul, I'm taking Dame. Fuck the logic.
And now last one, Kyrie Irving. Peak for peak. We know Kyrie, 2016 NBA Finals. Dame Lillard, we know he has his moments too.
I'm taking Dame.
I'm taking Dame. I can rely on him a lot more.
If
I'm taking
Dame was
too.
on the fucking Cavs with Kyrie, with LeBron, what are we talking about? Would have been the same thing.
That's why I'm
taking
so
Dame.
high on him. People are going to go crazy. I think CP is one of the 4 greatest point guards to ever play. He's in the Mount Rushmore. The amazing thing about Dame's career is that he is not the best player he got to play with was LaMarcus Aldridge and then CJ McCollum. And the year where CJ McCollum played at a, let's say, almost superstar level, they went to the conference finals. Man, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, not as much Steve Nash, but Chris Paul and Kyrie, they played with some of the greatest players, and CP less so with Harden, but top 5 players at their peak.
I understand, but Chris Paul at his peak with the Hornets,
58
not
wins,
even his peak, but
no, he was an MVP that year.
David West was an all-star because of him.
Yeah, he
Tyson
should have won
Chandler
MVP
was
that
good.
season.
David West.
You know what I'm saying? Chris Paul was a demon, man.
Mm-hmm.
He was
a demon.
For sure.
And everywhere I think LaMarcus Aldridge or Blake Griffin at that time.
Is Blake Griffin the best Clipper of all time? Through the Wire was talking about that in the last episode. Kind of had me crying. Because it's ridiculous, but it's kind of true.
It's either him or Elton Brand or Chris Paul. Elton Brand has some great Clipper years.
Before his torn Achilles, I think it was.
Yeah.
The Clippers don't have. I guess it'd be Bob McAdoo. Man,
Yeah, if you want to go way
Bob
back,
McAdoo.
facts.
tough.
Forgot about him. You're still thinking, John?
Oh, sorry. What's the question?
Oh, I was
Marcus
taking-
Aldridge or Blake?
Yeah.
Oh, we're still thinking like that.
Blake? I don't know.
I think I'd go LaMarcus Aldridge, personally.
I don't know.
Man, I don't know. They're neck and neck.
It's not Blake.
I'm taking Blake.
LaMarcus
Blake.
Aldridge.
Strange
Let's do
question.
it.
LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the best Blazers of all time, too.
Chat, let us know. Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge?
Dame did play with Evan Turner, though.
That's a great point.
It's a Celtic legend.
Gotta respect Evan Turner.
Celtic legend.
Revived his career. Now we're going to take a break in this podcast right now to talk about Athletic Greens. So Athletic Greens has a lot of nutritions in their drink. Right now, I'm drinking it right now in the pick and side can that Santos got me.
Shout out Santos.
I got some Athletic Greens. You can see it's very greeny over here. And it tastes good. It tastes amazing. It tastes like I'm drinking the earth.
It's like a Jets green?
No, it's like a Dookie green.
Okay.
But it's very
I
delicious.
don't know what Dookie green means.
Dookie, you know what Dookie is?
Oh, that Dookie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Dookie green, but it tastes freaking amazing. And it's a great way to get your nutrients throughout the day. You just put the powder in some water, you mix it, and it tastes like earthy, very earthy. You know, I feel like I'm drinking out of like, I don't know, the equator or something.
The equator. Oh,
Like-
man. You're killing this.
And
ad.
one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning, you're done. That's what you got to do. If you work out, this would be perfect for you. Or even if you just need some extra energy throughout the day, it'll be perfect. It also costs less than $3 a day to have it. That's pretty good if you ask me. It's really an effective daily habit for me. I've been drinking this almost every single day. It's the highest quality source ingredients. It's a win-win. And if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. If you go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside, that's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. Check it out. And when Athletic Greens gave us our package, we got a whole kind of like a jar of the powder, but we also got the travel packs, and that's what I'm using right now. I'm using the travel packs. I used it in Arizona. Just got some water every day, put the little powder in there, mix it. It tastes very greeny. I love it, man. Athletic Greens is the way to go.
How long have you
Athletic
taken it for?
Greens.
How long have you been taking it for?
About like a month. Yeah.
Nice.
I know that Drew's been taking it a lot too.
Yeah, no, he was
Took it
doing it
for a
even
while,
before we had the sponsor.
Athletic.
Because he has the digestive issues, right?
Oh yeah. Well, Drew's issue for years was he's lactose intolerant, and he just ignored it. You know.
Oh,
Lactose intolerant. On to the next topic.
Fuck it.
The New York Knicks.
Here we go. Back-to-back basketball episodes of the Knicks topic.
Now, listen, Knicks topics do well. We got to always talk about the Knicks. And as long as I'm on this show, we're talking about the New York Knicks.
Ah, you're a Knicks fan again.
Well, I've always been a Knicks fan. Listen, I think the
So you
shade
didn't watch them.
I think that I do watch them all the time.
Now you do.
We just watched them together the other night.
I know, but you in the beginning of the season you didn't.
Yes, because I told you why though. Because it's hard to watch their games. I gotta go to Stream East. MSG finally they're releasing a service called MSG Plus where you can buy a monthly or
$30 a month.
it's expensive as hell, man.
It's ridiculous.
MSG is ridiculous. It's $300 a year.
How do you hate
Stream
Stream
East.
Huh?
Do you just want to see it on your TV?
Yeah, that's why. I like seeing my games on my TV. And sometimes my laptop, I'll be like, just doing other stuff on it. So that's why I don't like streaming on my laptop. But recently I've been watching all the Knicks games. And listen, if the Knicks were on, if I had MSG on YouTube TV, I'd watch every game. But they've made it difficult because when YouTube TV and MSG were trying to come to an agreement, they couldn't agree to anything. And now MSG is having MSG Plus, and I'm going to have to pay the tax because I want to watch my Knicks. I think it's very rich. And you and Drew do this a lot because Riv lets me side because Riv knows how long I've been a diehard fan of the Knicks. He doesn't question it, not even a little bit. You guys question it. When I was the only guy that had Jalen Brunson as an all-star in the offseason. I mean, give me my goddamn respect, Dehls.
I gave you your respect for Jalen Brunson.
Give me my goddamn respect.
It doesn't mean that you get respect for the Knicks after you just bashed them and you were a Nets fan for half the year.
Our Through the Wire collab, I was propping up the Knicks, baby. That's all I was doing was propping up the Knicks. But all of a sudden, I don't watch it because they've made it more difficult for fans to watch their product. I'm the problem. Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm a victim. MSG got to figure themselves out.
So
I'm
dramatic.
a victim.
Speaking of the Nets, right now at halftime, Jalen Brunson has 30 points versus the Nets.
Damn.
The Knicks are up 81-57. And scoring is at an all-time high, and clearly Jalen Brunson, he is...
Jalen Brunson 50 ball today? He's probably need to
Possible.
sit, to be honest. They're up
by
at
a million.
halftime. Like,
Yeah. RJ Barrett, 9 points, 1 assist. It's halftime, so...
So talk to me,
I don't know
Joel.
Julius Randle jersey.
Listen, 1st
I'm
of all,
certified.
you get respect.
Julius Randle, Carmelo, I got all of them.
The only reason why I give you so much shit is because you were absolutely riding till the finish for the Brooklyn Nets.
KD was on there.
It doesn't matter. It's the big. It's New York. You can't like two New York teams. You can't be a Giants and Jets fan. You can't be a Knicks and Nets fan. It doesn't work like that. It does. You can't be a Lakers and Clippers fan. No, it doesn't happen. You pick one and you keep it pushing.
But can the Nets be an exception because they're in Jersey? Joel's from Jersey.
It's
and
all
they
the
moved in
same.
2013.
It's all the same. It's New Jersey, Brooklyn. We're acting like it's 4,000
My
Jets
miles.
are a New Jersey team.
my first NBA game was a New Jersey Nets game. Bro, their tickets were like $4 at one
Oh,
point.
so why aren't you a Nets fan then?
I was a New Jersey Nets fan in 2009. I told you guys a story of how I became a Knicks fan. Carmelo Anthony was on the trade block, and my 10 or 11-year-old self said, wherever Carmelo goes, I'm going to be the fan of that team. I also knew the Nets were moving to Brooklyn, and that took away the allure for me
I feel you.
being a Nets fan.
That's fair.
And I was like, okay, listen, wherever Carmelo goes, Carmelo went to the Knicks, and I
Okay.
became a Knicks fan.
That story is great. It brings a tear to my eye. But how about 2022, 2023 Joel, who's not 10, 11 years old, was rooting for the Nets and the
I
Knicks?
hyped up the Knicks all offseason long. I said they would be better than the Bulls, and y'all laughed at me.
I don't think we laughed at you.
Y'all laughed at me.
I don't know. I don't think I laughed at you for saying that.
Riv definitely laughed at me
Riv's
for
a Bulls
that.
fan.
Yeah, but when I was saying I took the Knicks over certain teams, you guys thought it was crazy. When I took the big three of Brunson and Randle and RJ over Levine, Vucevic, and DeRozan, y'all thought I was crazy.
That was a hot take.
Yeah.
At the time, it was a hot take.
And now
it
turns
aged
out,
well.
you know what I'm saying?
Aged well.
So I've been riding for my Knicks. But I thought that
next year could easily be the other way
We talked
around.
about the Nets a lot because you're a Celtics fan, and that was a team that could compete and contend with them.
So can the Knicks, I
Seriously.
thought.
Oh, we'll get to that in a bit, Mr.
let's
Dehls.
hear it.
Mr. Deli, man.
Let's hear it.
Listen, never disrespect my Knicks fan because I've been through some shit with them.
I know. I respect it.
I've seen Kareem Allen start for us, Damian Dotson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Lance Thomas.
Noah Vonleh.
Come on, Lou Amundsen had a
Steve
big time
Novak.
performance for us.
a
I remember a game where Luke Cornett was a savior for us. Man, I remember these times, man.
Mario
I'm enjoying
Hezonja.
my flowers right now with the Knicks because listen, Jalen Brunson. I even was wrong about it because he's way better than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a star player, but he's like even more. He's a step above that. Julius Randle's back to being an All-NBA player. Quentin Grimes is one of the best 3-and-D players in the league. Mitchell Robinson is one of the best defenders. And Josh Hart, 6-0 since we got him, is about to be 7-0 because we're beating the brakes off the Nets right now. Listen, man, the Knicks are serious. They're legit. We can win a playoff series. This isn't the same.
Against who?
This isn't the same Knicks in the bubble or the COVID year, I should say, not the bubble, the COVID year, where
Bless you.
where we lost to the Hawks in the first round. We didn't have a player like Jalen Brunson. We did not. Julius Randle, for some reason, averaged 37 in the regular season and then shit the bed in the playoffs against the Hawks. We didn't have Mitchell Robinson either. When we talk about the Knicks and who we could beat in the Eastern Conference, it's not crazy to say we can beat the Cavaliers in the series. It's not crazy to say we can beat the Sixers in a series. Man, Dehls, it's not crazy to say that we'll give those Celtics Lucky Charm team a little run for their money. Listen, Dehls, you got to start respecting the Knicks because we watched the Knicks game together. You and I on my couch. We was up there the other day. And who won that game, Dehls?
The Knicks.
The New York Knicks, baby.
We shot like 22% from 3.
That's because our defense is suffocating.
We were missing wide open
Our
threes.
defense is suffocating,
We were missing
baby.
wide the fuck open
And now,
threes.
listen, man, I feel good, man. I feel amazing.
I'm happy.
Because the Knicks are good. The Bulls are bad. The Hawks look like shit. I mean, all the teams that I thought that I had anti-agendas for are not doing well.
What's up those boys?
Who?
Right behind your left shoulder. Your other shoulder. The other shoulder. The other one.
Oh, Jason
Tatum.
Tatum?
There he is.
Hey, listen, I know you're scared. And Bill Simmons, he's a mega Celtics fan. He said he would
Big
be
Boston guy.
scared to face New York. Yeah. And he should be. Because the Knicks, baby, you don't want that smoke. You do not want that smoke. You don't want that smoke, baby.
How are you different than a Lakers fan saying they could go to the finals? Saying you could beat the Celtics.
I said that we'll have a chance. We'll give you a run for your money.
What does that mean? 6 games?
Nothing. You know, like you might beat us in the end, but we'll definitely give you some punches and some black eyes on the way.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I believe that I don't know if we want to talk about just the Knicks because I believe the question for the topic list was superstar or is it attractive destination for a superstar?
Two-part.
I know you have been very high on Joel Embiid possibly joining.
Shares
the
my
Knicks.
first name.
He does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, we are an attractive destination. I think the same way the Brooklyn Nets made the playoffs with Dinwiddie, LeVert, and D'Lo, and Jared Allen, they built a great culture with Kenny Atkinson. I'll be damned if current superstar players are looking at the Knicks like, I might want to go there next. Listen, if the Sixers get bounced out and get embarrassed in the playoffs, Joel Embiid is going to request a trade, and the Knicks, I promise you, will be the first team calling because we got young players, we have picks, we have cap space, we have tradable contracts. If we can get Joel Embiid in New York, my oh my, Dehls, it becomes scary. John, it becomes scary.
If we had a top 7 player in the NBA, things are going to get scary.
Tom Thibodeau, relationship, he has one with Jimmy Butler. The Miami Heat look like they're imploding. That's another team we would beat in the playoffs if we match up against them. No doubt about it. The Miami Heat cannot beat the Knicks. Let's stop playing ourselves.
What?
They can't beat us.
Say that
Even with
one
Kevin
more
Love?
time.
The Heat can't beat the Knicks.
In the first round series.
They cannot.
So you think Eric Spoelstra will lose to Tom Thibodeau?
Yes, I
You
do.
think Jimmy Butler will lose to Julius Randle?
He lose to Jalen Brunson, baby. Let's stop
Is
playing.
Jalen
Stop
Brunson
disrespect-
better than Jimmy Butler?
Right now, hell yeah, he is.
Oh, playoff time. You know what happens in playoff time. Jimmy
Jalen
Butler.
Brunson he averaged 30 against the Jazz.
I know,
in the
but
playoffs.
Jimmy Butler does year after year.
No, not year after year. He takes an off year sometimes.
Buddy.
The year before, he just made it to the finals. He was garbage in the first round versus the Bucks.
And then he just took the Celtics to 7 when they were just
That was
not even
after he
close to
took
their
the
team.
Miami Heat to the NBA Finals. The following season, he was a game away, a shot away from the NBA Finals. Every single year, we talk about Nikola Jokic before and how NBA fans like to discredit the Nuggets however way they can. The Miami Heat, look, their three-point shooting has dropped off this year, but they're beating the Knicks in 5 or 6 games.
No, they're not. You know what, John?
So
What
just
is
get the Jalen Brunson. Oh, the Knicks. can
John?
beat
I
the
noticed
Heat.
something about you. You disrespect teams that start with a K. The Kings and Knicks. It's both. Why are you disrespecting those
I had
teams?
the Kings being a top 7 seed coming
my
this year.
goodness.
So that's not true.
What a crazy agenda, the K agenda.
You're disrespecting teams, man, left and right. Listen, be on the right side of history for this one because the Knicks are going to get out the first round. And I like I was saying, Tom Thibodeau has a relationship with Jimmy Butler. What if Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami? The Knicks could come calling. Jalen Brunson, Jimmy, Randall. I mean, that to me reminds me of the 90s gritty New York team. Blood in the Garden. I mean, come on.
That wasn't good enough offensively to win championship.
We're a top 10 offense right now.
I know.
Last
Right
time
now
they
they're
were
6 in
top
offensive
6.
rating.
Yeah.
That was just a little jab. So the Knicks remind me a lot of the Toronto Raptors, independent of DeMar DeRozan, where Jalen Brunson is becoming this Knicks franchise's Kyle Lowry. Every fan loves him, but because before Kyle Lowry, the Raptors did not have that true, reliable, steadfast point. Jalen Brunson this year has been top 10 at the position. And Julius Randle has gotten better and better playing off the ball. That duo has been elite this year in the regular season. But we know in the playoffs, the Knicks need a superstar wing, which RJ Barrett was developed to be. Andre Bargnani style, he hasn't developed. And you look at the bench, look, you got Josh Hart. I mean, quickly, he's the runner-up probably for six man of the year to maybe Malcolm Brogdon. He may win the thing because of how well he has played in his third season. The only thing the Knicks lack is that top 10 player. Because in today's NBA, you don't see teams like the Heat. They have pretty close to that top 10 player in Jimmy Butler. They've had a Defensive Player of the Year candidate year in and year out, and Bam Adebayo. They have Tyler Hero, who in the playoffs, when healthy, has shown to be a player that can help lead you to the finals as one of your main perimeter scorers. The whole Heat thing doesn't matter because you're not going to play in the first round. Currently, you guys are slated to play the Cleveland Cavaliers.
We could beat them
in the first round of
We
playoffs.
could beat them. Most definitely. We could beat them. We could beat them. I'm picking the Knicks in that series.
Ooh,
We could beat them.
Oh man. Oh man.
So-
John, we talked about this last episode.
We
you
did.
take the Cavs? I don't remember.
I took the Cavs in 6
And John,
games.
the fact that you're so high on the Heat, they just got Kevin Love off the buyout market, who's been horrible. They're desperate.
We don't have to talk about the Heat because, like you said, not playing in the first round.
Listen,
the
they're not gonna
Cavs,
play.
the Cavs are a way different beast than the Heat.
Quentin Grimes can guard Donovan Mitchell.
Stop, bro.
What do you mean stop?
Just like yes,
Quentin Grimes is a great defender.
He is a great
8+.
defender. We're talking about Donovan Mitchell.
We're talking about Quentin Grimes.
What's Donovan Mitchell going to average? Tell me.
Probably 26, 27 a game.
If you're lucky. If you're lucky.
Jalen Brunson just beat Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. You
Stop.
forgot that? What do you mean stop it?
There are two different teams.
Your bias is
Yeah,
showing.
this Knicks team is better than the Mavs team that Jalen Brunson was carrying. Is it not?
Who has a better front court?
It's close.
Is it?
It's close.
Mobley?
Julius Randle's better than Mobley, bro.
Mobley and Jared Allen?
Jared Allen and Mitch. Jared Allen's better than Mitch, but it's not a huge ass gap. Is Julius Randle not better than Evan Mobley?
He is not better than Evan Mobley.
Yes, he is.
Evan
bro.
Mobley
I mean,
is a
defensively-
borderline
about?
first team.
Julius Randle's an all-star. Evan Mobley's not an all-star.
Defensively, Mobley,
Who would
without
you
a
rather
doubt.
have in your team?
Long-term Evan Mobley because he's what, 21 years old?
Right
22? Yes. Right now, Julius Randle is a better player
Do you not
than
get
Evan
word
Mobley.
of playoff Julius Randle?
No, because I
It
think
was the outlier
you won't-
one-time thing?
Yes, because I think now you won't be able to load up on Julius Randle. He just talked about in an interview how he worked on his mental health a lot. He's back. I think Julius Randle wants to be in the playoffs and wants to showcase his true skills. I mean, come on.
Sorry,
not
I'm
forget-
laughing at the chat saying we need Drew to talk about the Knicks, but go on.
Yeah, great point. The next fan. Let's not forget in the 2021 postseason series, Derrick Rose was amazing. 19 points per game in 5 games. You had a high-level point guard, not Jalen Brunson, but you had a pretty good one. And RJ and Julius
John.
both shat the bed.
Derrick Rose was good in that series, but he was our only guy.
Yeah,
He was our only one.
yeah.
And his
Alec
production will
Burks.
not be Jalen Brunson.
I agree.
Jalen Brunson will average 26 plus in a playoff series. Julius Randle's gonna play well. Listen, RJ Barrett's that X factor, baby.
Oh, man.
You take some pressure off of RJ Barrett, he might come to play too. Quentin Grimes is one of the best 3D players in the league.
So what
Mitchell
this
Robinson
is-
is one of the best defenders in the league.
What this is, Joel, as a Knicks fan, seeing a team that's great in the regular season, saying just because we have Jalen Brunson and the breath of fresh air they have an elite point guard, they can beat Cleveland. Look, in the regular season, Julius Randle is better than Evan Mobley, but who would I rather have in the playoff crucible? Given the last time Randle played in the playoffs, the only time playing in the playoffs, he was useless. I would rather have Evan Mobley on my team. And that playoff series against Jared Allen, an elite rim protector, and one of the 2 best defenses in the league, I'm pretty confident Julius Randle would struggle.
John, who's the better player, Julius Randle or Evan Mobley right now?
In the regular season or in
Who's a fucking better player? I'm tired of this.
That's
We
not
know-
fair. Defensively, it's Mobley without
But
question.
offense-
Offensively,
bro,
it's
offense is
Randle.
more
All
valuable
around,
than
we know that
defense.
Julius
In the
Randle's a
playoffs?
better player.
In the
Yes.
playoffs,
In the playoffs,
Yes.
playoffs, when you already have
Yes.
Mitchell and
Yes.
Garland, they could create all the offense. Mobley doesn't have to be asked to
Historically,
it.
teams that have won championships are great offensive teams.
But also great deep. The two best defenses were in the finals.
But
last
their
year.
offenses are usually better than their defenses. I read it in the Thinking Basketball book by Ben Taylor.
You have to have
Great
a good
book.
defense to an extent.
All I'm saying is that, John, I feel like you're looking at Julius Randle, you're looking at him like a trash bag. He's not that.
He was
He's
last
an
time in the
all-star.
playoffs, bro.
He's an all-NBA player.
He was
Why are
an
you
all-NBA
acting
player
like
2
he's,
years ago,
Why are
too.
you acting like he's not a great player?
Because you're talking about them being the Cavaliers and the Miami
Okay.
Heat in the playoffs.
So
That's why.
Miami Heat suck. Who cares?
Yeah, the Heat, they can get past the Heat.
And I'm not even
I feel
looking
pretty
at
confident about that.
disrespect Randall because this has been a career year for him as a shooter, the
great.
volume. He's been fantastic
Okay,
with
John.
that point guard
John,
in the mix.
what up? Because you only take into account your scenarios, right? How about you take into account my scenario?
Sure.
What if Randall actually plays well and plays at an all-star level in the series versus the Cavs? Can we not beat them?
Is he going to do that against Evan Mobley? One of the best
Why
players in the
not?
one of the
And
best
Isaac
players in the NBA.
Okoro? Well, why not go up
Isaac
against...
Okoro?
Hold up.
Why,
If Quinn Grimes could guard Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley can guard Julius Randle.
and here's
No,
the
I
other
think he
thing,
can make
too.
it tough for sure, but Julius Randle's a great player, bro. What are we talking about here?
Sounds great as Donovan Mitchell.
2 years ago, Julius Randle averaged 37 points per game in 3 matchups versus the Hawks in the regular season. They get to the playoffs, and Randle is shooting, 30% from the field?
Bro, this
ugly.
year we're 2-1
So why
against.
not?
This year we're 2-1 against the Cavs. Julius Randle last matchup had 36 and 13. Brunson struggled with 14 points. The matchup before that, Julius Randle had 18 and 9. Brunson had 23. The first matchup where the Cavaliers beat us, Julius Randle had 15, 9, and 7. We kind of struggled that game. Well, Julius Randle will average 20 plus in that series, bro.
And we got to shout out Rap Stallion. He goes, as soon as you're basing your argument on what if, you're toast.
What do you mean, what if? Your entire argument is what if.
Your
Yours was
argument
also-
Julius
was,
Randle
yours
is
what
a
if
great
Julius
player.
Randle plays well for the first time, though we've never seen him
Should
in the
I not
playoffs?
expect a player that's an all-star to play well in the playoffs?
Did he play well
Is
2
that
years ago?
blasphemous?
He was an all-NBA
It's just
second
you
team.
have very recent history to say he played at an All-NBA level in the playoffs. He stunk it up.
Okay, and what about the law of averages? The
That's-
law of
that's
averages
without a
means
doubt
that
fair.
Julius Randle, he played like shit last playoffs. He's definitely coming with some motivation to play better, bro.
For sure.
Let's stop acting like he
here
can't
we go.
play well.
So in 5 games versus the Hawks, 18 points on 29% shooting.
God.
But he did shoot 33% from 3. There you go. And 4.5 turnovers in 5 games.
Listen, I could give you the Heat. I'll give you the Heat. I don't think at all they're a real contender. The Cavs are sneaky. Like, they're that third team in the East. I know Philly's there for sure, but they're that third team in the East.
Philly is that third team in the East.
I don't know.
No,
I don't
They
know.
are better than the Cavs.
It's
What are we
cl-
talking
it's-
about
It's
here?
debatable.
My goodness,
It's
Joel
debatable.
Embiid and James Harden.
They're great, without a doubt.
I'm surprised. A lot of people are saying the Heat are terrible this year.
They
Why are
are.
we acting like Jimmy Butler's not an elite superstar playoff performer?
He's
He
not.
hasn't.
But this team's mid.
You don't think their shooting can go back from 28th in the league to at least somewhere in the 20s? They get Duncan
No.
Robinson back.
Who are
You're in
who's
the 20s.
shooting?
You're fine.
Who's
You
shooting?
think Max Strus can shoot better? Same with Gabe Vincent. Those guys in the playoffs last year were starters
John,
on a
if
team
they're in the
that
20s,
almost took
Yo,
their
yo,
Celtics.
Dehls.
They took their Celtics
I know,
down the
I
wire.
know.
with
Yo,
Max
Dehls.
Strus. Yo, if Max Strus, if his foot was not on the line, you were going home.
Yo, Dehls,
you were not
Dehls.
going to the
Was
finals.
on the line.
Yo, you're telling me before the final series in the bubble, you know that Goran Dragic was averaging more points per game than Jimmy Butler in that playoff run.
Dragic was cooking.
Yeah, but it wasn't elite
He
though.
cooked us, bro.
Bro,
Fucking
let's
hate Goran
look at
Dragic.
these numbers by Jimmy Butler. For one, he's a career 20-point per game playoff performer. Last playoffs, he averaged 27. The one before that, he averaged 14 and a half. The one before, he averaged 22. Then he averaged 19, 16, 23, 23, 13, 13. That's an elite playoff. That's a consistently elite playoff
those
performer.
early years.
He's not
whatever.
He's
Those
not
early
consistently
years.
an elite playoff performer, bro. He had an elite
All right,
year.
so let
He's
me
not
ask you this
consistently
question.
an elite playoff performer.
Jimmy Butler versus Jason Tatum last year in the postseason. Who played better in the Eastern Conference?
Okay,
Finals?
that was the one year that Jimmy Butler was actually legit elite in the playoffs. Outside of that, he was not.
And he had
had
stinkers
he
still.
had a great he had some
stinkers.
great games in the finals, but before that, Goran Dragic was averaging more points than him. He was not great all around in that playoff
I was
run.
saying even last playoff run
Or
against Celtics.
not
he had a
great. I
couple-
would say elite.
He had a
wasn't
couple
elite all
stingers.
around.
He was also injured too.
That's so was Tatum.
What did Tatum have?
He had a wrist injury.
It was wrist.
Yeah. Larry Bird MVP or whatever. The fuck
Like,
they
bro,
call it.
when we talk about
It should have been Jimmy Butler.
the Heat don't even have depth, bro. They have no. they
Cody
have no
Zeller's their backup
don't.
center.
Yeah,
It's
it's an
bad
issue.
news.
Kevin Love is starting.
Yeah, it's an
he's
issue.
washed.
I think the Cavs is a real test against.
It's a debate.
It is the Heat. I'm with you. The
And
Heat,
look,
I'm
I'm
with
not
you. I don't
saying-
believe in the Heat this year, even though
I'm
Spo's
not
great.
saying 100% the Knicks are going to beat the Cavaliers, but I'm saying we got a chance, goddamn
sure,
it. We
I'm
got
with
a
you.
chance.
I'm with you.
And I'll be damned if John here acts like
You know,
we don't
I don't
got
think
a
he's
chance.
saying that. I don't think John's saying there's no chance. Are you?
No, there's a great chance. Number one, I think they would probably be go toe to toe with those two teams, but the Knicks are not a favorite to win that Cavalier series by any stretch. And you're acting like, oh, they're just gonna win. Like that's the series you were a heavy.
I can't believe in
for
my
good
team.
reason.
I think we could win that series.
You could, like 20% chance.
20% chance is ridiculous, bro. It's at least
20%.
it's 60-40
In favor of the Knicks?
in favor. I would say the Cavs slightly, but the Knicks can beat the Cavs, bro.
Well, 20% is not a slight
You're over
difference.
here wearing the everybody sweatshirt. You're not giving credit to everybody. You're not giving credit to the Knicks.
I am. I talked to them before. They have runner-up for 6 man of the year, maybe the favorite. Or, no, RJ Barrett. Definitely not. Jalen Brunson is borderline all-league, all-NBA, third team. And And Julius Randle as well has that case.
Mention our bench.
They're a great regular season team. And I think this Josh Hart acquisition is another reason that makes him so sturdy defensively, where they've gotten better and better over the last couple of weeks. But the playoffs are a much different animal. And when you haven't proven yourself in that scenario, and your coach is Tom Thibodeau, who in the past has lost 3 different series where he had home court advantage in 5 games, well, history would tell me a 4th time would not be shocking this
He
season.
also won a playoff series with Nate Robinson being his best player.
What year is that?
And that was with the Bulls.
I had to pull this up because I don't remember this.
Look it up. Nate Robinson playoff stats. He went crazy.
Is that against the processing 76ers?
Now,
or the
that
year
was against
before?
the Nets in the playoffs.
What year are you talking about?
He averaged 16. It's the 2012-2013 season. They beat the Nets in 7 games. And Nate Robinson averaged 17 a game in that series. And the team was Boozer, Robinson, Luol Deng, Bellinelli, and a young Butler. And the Nets had Brooke, Darren, Joe Johnson. They had their team, little cute team.
Cute team.
Wasn't the KG and Paul Pierce.
That's not
it.
moving me, that series from a decade ago. When the
Yeah,
league has changed
I was
a
say
lot since
you're
then.
doing a lot right
No,
now.
I'm just saying, bro. I just brought up an example.
I
That's
know,
all I
but
did.
bro, we're talking about Nate Robinson. Like that's how long ago this was.
But I'm saying that was an amazing series, man.
I know, but,
I'm
like-
surprised you don't know about it, John. You're a historian. You don't know about that series. Come on, what are we doing
It
here?
wasn't very memorable.
It was very memorable. Nate Robinson, 5'9", short king. He did his thing.
He did do his thing.
He did his thing. Dunk contest champion.
Listen,
3 times.
Listen, John. Josh Hart. You look at our bench. Josh Hart, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, Hartenstein. This is what you like to do, John. I don't understand it. When the Knicks got Hartenstein, you love the move. You love what the Knicks are building. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to talk about them as a team that can maybe upset in the playoffs, you all of a sudden go AWOL and say, you know what? They don't got a chance. You did this with the Kings. You like the Kings all year. Then when we have a debate, you turn heel. You turn your back against the team you were cheering for. When I talk about the Knicks, Josh Hart has been that guy who's really solidified our rotation. And he reminds me a lot of when in the COVID year, we got Derrick Rose. He is that difference for us this year. We're undefeated with him. Josh Hart has been amazing. The same guy you were low on.
He's been tweaking.
John, I told you, Josh Hart's a great addition. You told me, no, he's not. And he's proving you wrong. Now I understand why you got a sour taste in your mouth about the Knicks. Because Josh Hart came to the Knicks and said, listen, John, John, you're not going to get me now. So I can understand your frustration with the
John's
Knicks.
a logic fan,
But
that's
please,
not logic.
just because you have some negativity and toxicity thrown Josh Hart's way, don't let it blind you from what this Knicks team is.
What is this
especially
Knicks
with
team?
Josh.
What's the ceiling?
We can win in the first round.
Word.
Definitely.
That's fair.
Definitely.
I think that's fair.
We can win a playoff series for sure.
I do. Do you think you should be favored against the Cavs?
I think it should be an even series.
Plus 100 even money?
I think yes, it should be an even series.
Okay. I respect that. I think
Jalen
so.
Brunson has been playing better than Donovan Mitchell since the start of the new year.
Yeah, listen, Jalen Brunson's playing one of the fucking, JJ Redick said it, one of the top 2 point guards in the NBA. It's Lillard and him, literally. But I'm glad you have realistic expectations. That's what I'm happy
I don't
about.
think we're going to win a championship. I never said that.
No, I know.
All
I know.
I'm saying is that, come on, like,
I would still be taking the Cavs in that series.
let's stop acting like the Cavs have proven things either. Darius Garland's never been to the playoffs. Neither has Evan Mobley. Mitchell has.
These guys
But
are
Brunson,
in like year 2, year 3, bro.
Grimes is in year 2, year 3.
I'm talking about you, but you talk about Garland and Mobley.
Okay. Most of our guys At least they got some experience. Brunson, Randall.
They've Donovan Mitchell.
We got experience. Okay, we got Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson just beat him in the playoffs. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand, Dehls.
But you can't talk about the fucking Jazz and Dallas Mavericks when it's now the Knicks versus the Cavs.
The Jazz, who had Rudy Gobert, defense player of the year.
I don't like it's completely different matchups, different players, different coaches. Everything is different.
All I'm saying, yeah, and Jalen Brunson has a better team around him right now. The 2-man game with Julius Randle is going to be amazing. All I'm saying is that you look at the Cavs bench, that's a serious concern, bro.
It is.
Like, we have a better bench. We have the 6th man of the year, Emmanuel Quickly, on our team. Okay, whatever. Brogdon, him, whatever. It's a toss-up. All I'm saying, we have a great bench, bro. You know, we got players that can come to play. I just don't like this. You're just saying we don't got a chance. That's disrespectful.
I never seen you have a chance. I just said you're not winning that series. More likely than not, you're like a 70-30 underdog, which is reasonable. That's okay.
Dehls.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Is there really a difference in what he said and not having a chance?
70-30.
I don't remember saying not a chance.
70-30 is based. It's not no chance, but it's a small chance.
You need a lot of things to go your way.
You didn't directly say you don't have a chance, but based on your tone, you're making
around
it
the
sound
bush
like
and
it's
say,
impossible.
I'm
for the Knicks
reacting
not
to you
beat them.
saying they would easily beat the Cavaliers.
I said that.
You didn't
I
say
never
that.
said
You
that.
said they would definitely beat them. Whatever the case may be.
I said we could.
Let's shift gears a little bit to that second question we had about the Knicks,
Here we go.
because that is a much more interesting discussion.
Say that again.
Joel Embiid. Is that what you're getting at?
Listen, Joel Embiid is the one I got. Is the one guy I want.
Do you have any hesitancy because you give up Joel Embiid, all the fucking picks are ever gone, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, like you were really tearing apart this team to put Randall, Brunson, Embiid. Who knows if they even want RJ Barrett? Let's be completely honest. Are you okay with giving up basically your entire future, all of your tradable assets to go out and get Joel Embiid, pair him with Randall, Brunson, no fit issues, no, everything's going to work smoothly?
I think if we get Joel Embiid, the Randall fit concerns me.
I agree.
And I think we probably have to move Randall. And Randall coming off an all-star year, we could get a great package for him, or Philly could take him on. You know, what if they trade us Embiid, we trade them Randall and picks and maybe a young player on our roster? I don't know. It could work.
Don't you think they would go into a rebuild? Like if Embiid leaves, Harden's gone too, probably, right?
What if
like,
it's not a rebuild, though? What if they just want to be
retool?
competitive and stuff?
But let's be real.
How would
like,
you want to do that?
Do you think Daryl Morey's the type to do that?
I don't know.
He's a home run hitter.
That's why I feel like he would go.
Like, the Knicks are bidding against the Blazers probably, who have Ant Simons and maybe Shane Sharp on the table. And what asset do you have that's anywhere near that level? Because RJ Barrett's making $25 million and he's not even playing at a starting level right now.
I think
Quentin Grimes can't be the centerpiece of a deal for Joel Embiid.
Listen, I think RJ Barrett's the one guy that we got to really try to find a move for.
It's a rough time to do that.
Yeah, his trade value has never been lower.
It's radioactive.
Yeah, is he a negative asset? I want to go
Easily negative
What do
asset.
you think he is?
He's in year 4 and he can't finish. He has some good strengths in this game. He's got good touch and he does good job in transition when he's playing aggressive, but he can't shoot and he has a lot of deficiencies on offense. And defensively this year, the effort has not been there on a consistent basis. That's a negative value contract and he's going to year 5 and he has not developed at all in the last 2 years.
Listen, I got off the RJ thing really quick.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But it's a good point because the Trailblazers are without a doubt going to be one of those teams. We just talked about Damian Lillard getting that second star. Give me Shane Sharp, Simons, and picks over whatever the hell you guys are going to offer.
I mean, listen, man, I've been off the RJ thing for a while.
I know,
And-
but that doesn't have anything to do with this potential trade package.
Yes, I don't know if if RJ's going to be the centerpiece of any star player trade.
And plus, you get to trade him to the West. You don't have to deal with him. You don't get him to the Knicks, who historically,
I think the player that had to be involved would be Emmanuel Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd have to let him go, unfortunately.
Upcoming extension as well, too. You're going to have to pay him in the high teens at least.
Yeah.
He's been huge defensively as well. For a
No,
smaller
he's one of the
guard,
better defenders in the league.
one of the
at
best
his
guard
position.
defenders.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
If only you guys could draft as well in the top 10.
So that's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Way first.
That's what I'm saying, bro. We literally have Emmanuel Quickly and Quentin Grimes, so we could put on Garland and Mitchell.
They're going to get theirs.
Joel.
Oh, let's go. We're up 11. I'm gonna stop
Donovan
watching
Mitchell
because
against the likes of Paul George has single-handedly won playoff series against elite defenders in the past. Emmanuel Quickly's a good defender in the regular season, but Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are arguably the best backcourt in the NBA now.
Okay. What happened last playoff series? The Jazz versus the Mavericks. Jalen Brunson without Luka.
He won 2-1. Yeah, I'll play Donovan on an ankle injury if memory serves. He was a little bit pained up.
What did Jalen Brunson average?
31.
30. He outplayed him. He can outplay him again. Don't sleep on Jalen Brunson, man.
You got this. You're just like not comparing. It's not the same thing. They're not.
Bro, listen.
I hate the Brunson versus Mitchell comparison from 3 games last year when on 2 different teams.
Yeah.
This year, Brunson has been just as good as Mitchell.
I understand.
Recently,
I understand. Recently,
for sure.
yes. Recently,
No, recently
for sure.
he's been better.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, I just think the Cavaliers still have the more complete roster. While
just had 30.
While the bench definitely concerns me, and the wing play as well. Obviously, just having Isaac Okoro is really your only playable wing. I know you're a Dean Wade fan, so I won't speak for you.
Karis LeVert can swing a playoff game, though. It's not act like he
Stop.
can. He can. He has.
What?
He can swing a playoff game if he's
What
making
has he
shots.
swung?
That's a good point.
John, what the fuck?
He hasn't been on a team that's good. That's the difference.
He's inconsistent.
But I like the Cavs over their starting 5. I like more than yours. I like the Twin Towers with Mobley and Jared Allen. I like the backcourt with Garland and Mitchell, who could just completely run this offense. Okoro is the only weak link there, which I understand. If you want to point out the depth and the overall team of the Knicks, I understand. I have my reservations against going up Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Mobley, one of the best defenders in the league, Jared Allen, one of the best rim protectors in the league. Listen, Mitchell Robinson, obviously, he's great too, but injury concerns, Julius Randle. I just feel like there's more questions going into that series about the Knicks than there will be about the Cavaliers.
I will say this to you, Dehls. When the Knicks get Joel Embiid, Celtics and Knicks is on.
Say less.
How are
it's
they
on.
getting Joel?
And I know that he's still a little bit mad.
About what?
Because last time we faced in the playoffs, the Knicks and Celtics, we won. We beat y'all.
What year is this?
It's like 2012, 2013, I think.
Shit don't move me.
We beat y'all.
Yeah.
Last time we faced,
Was that Melo?
we got y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old ass team.
Yeah, I was gonna
Get
say,
outta
like
here.
that doesn't move
Let's
me.
go, baby. Stop playing.
You guys are a free agent destination, not a key team in the trade market. Like you've signed 2 guys that developed.
They don't have money, though.
We talked about this yesterday.
Right? They're playing RJ, Brunson, Randall,
That's a great point. RJ.
We do have cap space. Randall's on a really friendly contract.
but not enough to get a max contract guy.
Fournier has a $17 million cap hit that I think we can
player
live
or
off
team?
from. I think it's
Or
a team
just-
option.
Okay, team option, that's the easy decline.
Yeah, but that's in 2025. So you've got
bro,
one
you're
more
fucked.
year with Fournier.
But he's expiring in a sense if it's a team option, so you
Yeah,
could
in
probably
2
move off
years.
that.
A year and a
Oh,
half.
but no, if you're going into this offseason, next year it'll be expiring in a sense.
Yes.
And next year he's on an expiring deal. Yeah, but he's a movable piece that we can
Yes,
trade in the
you
deal.
probably have to touch a second round pick or something. But
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying for example for like a Joel Embiid, we can definitely
to match
have
salary.
yeah. So he's an important player for that.
You guys have Derrick Rose is expiring this year, but you also have Josh Hart. You're gonna have to extend most likely till you trade a first round
Yeah,
pick.
and according
to
to
get
you,
him.
we shouldn't extend him. It's a bad move to begin
I
with.
didn't say that. I said when he was making 30% of his threes in Portland, that's a terrible fit for a Knicks team that lacks 3-point shooting, but he's making 60% of the threes through 7 games.
Guess why?
So,
He's playing with his Villanova teammate in Jalen Brunson. And Josh Hart even said that the Knicks are not just a team that wants to get into the playoffs. We want to make a playoff run. I believe him.
I think
we
every
could
team
do
has
it.
that mindset, right?
We could do it.
I love the confidence. I do love it.
Shout out to Deco. Donated $4.99. Got to head out early. But good to have you back, Joel. And Warriors big dubs.
They have who did they play last night? Blazers? Was it?
Yeah, they came
Yeah.
back from, I think it was 20-point deficit.
And had a ridiculous second half. Yeah.
Now, before we go on to this week in the NBA, we're going to play a little game. Mojo, long or short?
Let's do it.
Which, long means we're going to invest in them long term. Short means that we are banking on their stock price to go down. John has the images in front of me. What order is it in, if you could tell me right now?
Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle.
Oh, it's Knicks edition.
It is.
Yes, it's a team edition.
And then Mitchell Robinson.
So-
wrap things up.
Mojo, long or short, Knicks edition, first name up, Jalen Brunson. Are you going long or are you shorting him? He's currently at $143.
I'm going long. He was one of my picks when Mojo first released NBA, player stocks. I'm all in on Jalen Brunson. He's been phenomenal this season, and there's no reason to think he's going to stop.
I have to go long as well because they're going to make the playoffs this year. Brunson has performed in the past in the postseason, and I'm expecting that to continue.
Yeah, I'm going long. I think he's up 14% in the last month. He's only get going more up. He just had a 30 ball. I'm going long on Jalen Brunson for sure.
I don't even know if they have him as a top 10 point guard on Mojo, and Jalen's just in his age 26 season too.
Next name up, Josh Hart. He's at $84.
Josh Hart's a hard player because his role will probably never change. Like, this is what he's going to be, right? 3-and-D guy. But I don't really want to short him either because he fits in New York. It seems like he enjoys New York too. Obviously, Brunson, both college teammates. So if I had to choose, I would go long, but I would rather just stay away, I think, from Josh Hart.
Yeah, so for reference, Trey Murphy and Christian Wood are over him.
Oof.
Derek White, Bones Holland, Cam Johnson, and Herb Jones are under his price.
Well, first of all, go long on Derek White. I think that being said.
Josh Hart is the 113th ranked guard on the Mojo app, on the Mojo market. He's not the first player I'm invested in, but hold a gun to my head, Nerf gun. I'm taking Josh Hart going long.
Listen, I'm cheating here. I'm not going to take any of them. I'm not going to invest in either one. I'm only investing in Jalen Brunson long. Next name, RJ Barrett.
Long.
I was going to say RJ Barrett guy.
Where's he at?
What's his price?
Well, right now, RJ Barrett's $125, and Jalen Green, D'Angelo Russell, Keegan Murray are over him. Players that are under are Kevin Huerter, Buddy Hield, Michael Porter Jr., and Devin Vassell.
That feels like the right spot for him, if I'm being honest. Like, I feel like he's above those guys, but below Jalen Green, Keegan Murray long term. But in the same sense, I don't think I would do either. But if I had to lean one way, unfortunately, I think I would be shorting RJ Barrett. Like you mentioned just a couple minutes ago, he hasn't developed, and that's a concern. He's super young still. He has the physical traits to be able to turn into a really solid two-way player. But the fact he hasn't been able to show that progression, it's concerning if you want to go long on him.
I'm shorting RJ Barrett. That being said, might be the last player I'm touching. No. Outside Ben's, it's a little different.
I would say I'm shorting RJ Barrett as well, as long as he's with the Knicks and in his current role. I think if he finds a new situation, I would take my money out of him and see what I return. But as for right now, given we have Brunson and Randall, and we might trade for a big marquee guy, I'm going to short RJ Barrett for now. Next name, Julius Randle. $169. Guys that are over him, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Ingram. Okay. Chris Middleton and Vucevic are below him.
I feel like Mojo has that right too. Randall's hard, man, because listen, I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm shorting Randall this season. I'm shorting Randall now. He's going to struggle next season, off on. The end of next season, I'm going long. He's going to bounce back.
He's not going to be a big-time mover in his age 28 season. I mean, he's in the range of like Jaren and Vucevic.
Yeah.
I think his price is going to largely stay around this $170 mark. I would short him, personally.
I think I'm going to go long on Julius Randle to finish off the season because he's going to have a great playoff series. Unlike what you're saying, John, it's pissing me off. Julius Randle's going to have a great playoff series. We're going to win a playoff series because Randle's going to show up. So that price is going up. But then you're right. You know, Randle's on and off. I might just take my money out of him and not touch him. But Randle this season, he's good for every other year.
You could go long, and then if he has a good playoff run like you're predicting, take your money out and then short him for next season.
And now last one, Mitchell Robinson at $108. Players that are over him, Zubac, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Keldon Johnson. Players that are under, Malcolm Brogdon and Yusuf Nurkic.
Brogdon disrespect is crazy.
He's the 101st big on Mojo.
Do they have Rob Will on there?
I'm pretty sure they do, yeah.
I wonder, he should be above.
Rob Will is 113.
What was Mitch?
108.
Okay, that's fair. I'm shorting Mitchell Robinson. Injury history. He's a traditional big who's not going to change much throughout his career.
That's a good point. His archetype by his late 20s is going to regress. Mitch has been great this year as rim protector while on the floor, but 2 of the last 3 years has missed close to half the year. I would probably go short, but he's been having a good season.
I'm going long on Mitchell Robinson. The disrespect. My goodness.
I'm not putting my money on him.
So next time, you'd rather go long on Mitchell Robinson than RJ?
It's $108, yeah. Zubac is over him, bro.
I know.
He's better than Zubac.
Is he better than Robert Williams?
It's close.
You don't know ball.
No, it is close. You put Mitch on the Celtics, he wins DPOY too.
Rob was fucking on track to last year. Yeah, maybe not on track to, but top 3.
Next episode, Celtics edition.
Oh, I'm going long.
I'm shorting everybody. I'm shorting Tatum. Now I'm playing. This week in the NBA, what I have here is a stat from Coast to Coast NBA. Best and worst pull-up mid-range shooters based on percentage among on-ball guards and wings. KD is 1, Kyrie is 2, Luka is 3, 4 is Christian Wood, the Woodman, 5 is De'Aaron Fox, and 6 is Kawhi Leonard.
Is this a Christian Wood agenda push, a De'Aaron Fox agenda push? What are we going for here?
Listen, Kevin Durant's the best mid-range shooter in the league. I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah. It's interesting that the Mavericks have 3 players within the top 6, Luka, Kyrie, and Christian Wood. I think Christian Wood does deserve more minutes. De'Aaron Fox, he's been doing his thing this year. Yep. And then I have the bottom 4 players. 78 is Jalen Green. 79 is Paolo Banchero. 80 is Russell Westbrook. And 81 is Karis LeVert. The guy that is, the X Factor swing guy in the series.
A single game, not a series. He just won a game.
Shooting 33% for pull-up shots.
Not great.
What do you got, John?
Klay Thompson is the first player after last night's comeback game in NBA history to record multiple games of 12 three-point makes or more. This Warriors team is expecting to get Steph Curry back next week, and this year, while there's been a lot of concerns, they haven't been back to last year's level where they're a clear top 3 seed. They've stayed afloat without Steph now for multiple different series, different sequences of the regular season. I don't think people can overlook Golden State, because while Klay Thompson's not the level of a defender he was a couple of years ago, he still is. That same guy is a three-point shooter. And that for Golden State in the playoffs, a year off, technically 2 years off the torn ACL now, is a set you can't overlook. Because that right there, if any X factor is going to pop up in the playoffs this year, it'd be Killer Klay.
Killer Klay? Yeah. I like that. My actually is going to tie perfectly into our next topic. I know this is this week in the NBA, during this week in the NFL, because there's a big story that broke this morning around the NFL draft and Jalen Carter. Unfortunately, there is a warrant out for his arrest. He's already acknowledged this around a reckless driving incident that did leave, I believe it was a Georgia player who fatally passed away due to an accident in January, I believe. There's a warrant out for his arrest for reckless driving. And this could, first of all, obviously prayers to what happened to, I don't remember the name off the top of my head of the man who passed away. And obviously that has big implications beyond the NFL, Jalen Carter's life. But if we just want to stay on topic of the NFL and sports, this could completely change the NFL draft, completely change if the Bears want to trade the number 1 overall pick, completely change really the entire maybe top 5, top 10 of the NFL draft. Because I said earlier, there's not a ton of blue chip players. There's 2 on the defensive side of the ball. It's Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. If Jalen Carter is, I don't want to say off the board, but gets pushed down because this is going to be a legal proceeding, you don't know what could happen. All of a sudden, there's only 1 blue chip prospect on the defensive side of the ball. And maybe now the Bears are much more likely to keep number 1 overall, get that player instead of trading down.
That's a very interesting one. Yeah, I read that story too. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, it was also a recruiter as well. The player's name is Devin Willock, an offensive guard. So.
Yeah.
Today, sorry to just change the topic onto something that's not as somber, but I took a player performance double on Chris Paul today. Phoenix to win and him to have 12 assists. Phoenix did win. He had 11 assists. My goodness, bro. My luck never ends. I actually have another this week in the NBA.
Let's do it.
De'Aaron Fox this season is averaging 25.6 assists, shooting 51% from the field. Highest field goal percentage by a guard that's averaging 25-plus points per game. Leader in clutch points. And the first king with 25-plus points per game on 50-plus field goal percentage in a season since Oscar Robertson. I thought I'd show the Kings some love and respect this podcast because the last podcast, the last 2, I think it was a two before this one, it's a lot of disrespect on the Kings.
Yeah, it's really disrespectful.
A lot of disrespect on the Kings. Yes, a lot of disrespect on the Kings. Listen, I ride with Sacramento. I've already told Sacktown that, listen, playoff game, I'm going. Because I'm going to like the goddamn beam, baby. I'm going to go like the goddamn beam. I got to see it in person. I bet it's beautiful. I got to go in person, no doubt.
One of the things the Kings are going to have over every other team in Western Conference playoffs is the crowd. Because there may not be a more lively audience in all about.
Nobody's been itching more than Kings fans.
Absolutely, and they deserve it. And De'Aaron this year, what doesn't get talked about enough, we talk about his speed and athleticism. The guy has been phenomenal from mid-range all year long.
Yeah, you just mentioned the pull-up.
Exactly. And I think on the year...
He's been great defensively, too.
He's been good defense. It's not act like he's been great.
Just skinny.
He's shooting 51...
fucking hating, bro.
They suck defensively. They're a trash defensive
But
team.
he's
bad
been
defensive
a good defender.
He's been
He could get pushed around. Let's be honest.
for a player.
The
of his
reason why they
usage
beat
rate's
the
been
Clippers
good.
was because his late game defense.
He had big time plays because of really terrible Paul George turnovers. But on the year, 51% mid range shooting is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's OD.
I mean, for him in the past, he was around the 40s, 46. He's gotten better and better. He does deserve that love. And in the playoffs, we know he's going to continue to play at this level. It's great to see him finally having that opportunity to show I'm not an empty stats player. Much like Devin Booker, the wordless labels on him. And he's quite clearly going to win the Clutch Player of the Year. I mean, he's going to be a great first option for that award because what he is doing right now is pretty extraordinary.
The Kings are
new?
special, man.
It's brand new this year, yep.
Oh, tough.
Yep.
I wasn't even aware.
And
Would you look at that?
Fox should definitely win that.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Most clutch points in the NBA. It's
I
nuts.
wish they would have had it in like 2015.
Even though Jason Tatum, best shooter in 24 seconds or less when the game started.
That's like the last 5 years.
the
isn't it?
NFL
Yeah, it is.
should have that award. This year would have been Kirk Cousins.
Even if he lost in the playoffs against the Giants.
Where
It
he
would have
had the
been Daniel
most
Jones.
fourth quarter comebacks in the NFL that
He
year.
could have had a fourth quarter comeback against the Giants.
Oh, he could have, yeah. But I mean, come on, respect him. And if it was
Got eliminated in the first round. What do you
if
expect?
it was 2010 in the NFL, Josh Freeman would have won that.
Okay, like what does that matter?
Josh Freeman had a great year that year, man.
Okay,
2010, he was amazing.
such a random name to bring up.
Josh Freeman, respect Josh Freeman, please, bro.
Said Jalen Carter could fall to the Jags at 25.
Chicago Bears are leaning towards trading the top pick. What are your thoughts? Adam Schefter has reported that the Bears could have a feeding frenzy for the number one pick, and their GM Ryan Poles has admitted that, listen, we have to be blown away to keep the pick and draft a quarterback. They're gonna trade the pick. So what are your thoughts on this and what Ryan Poles said?
It might be outdated, the Adam Schefter quote or report, because if this Jalen Carter stuff does progress and there's going to be real concerns about his availability in the season with these, likely court proceedings, it could change everything for the Bears. As I alluded to earlier, there's two blue chip prospects defensively. It's Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. So all of this time leading up to the draft, it's been, okay, Chicago could trade down to 2 or to 4. We're expecting the top 2 picks if they trade down to be quarterbacks. So then the Cardinals could take Anderson or Carter at 3, let the next one be available for them at 4. With this, it's different now because there does seem to be a pretty sizable gap between Carter/Anderson and the next defensive player, or honestly, next player available on the board, whether you want to go offense or defense. So before this news happens, I was for it. I think it makes sense. The Bears have holes everywhere, right? I don't think there's a single position group on this team you could look at and say it's set in stone. We don't have to worry about it. They have holes everywhere. Even though I know everyone's going to talk about offensive line, I think their offensive line is better than it gets credit for because Justin Fields holds onto the ball the longest in the NFL. So the fact that if you could trade down, get extra picks, get extra first-round picks, especially next year, extra second-round picks, really high-value guys that could start for you this year, I think matters more than that number 1 overall pick. With that being said, I don't think it's ludicrous to explore the idea of drafting a quarterback at number 1 overall. I don't think it's crazy. And I'm a Justin Fields guy. I think I still have faith in him without a doubt. But I still have to be realistic with him, right? Just because I like a guy doesn't mean I could just be completely blind-eyed. That's kind of how it was with Zach Wilson entering this season, and it backfired. So I want to right my wrongs. If we're being honest with Justin Fields, he was a great prospect coming out of Ohio State. He's been in the NFL for 2 years now. And in those 2 seasons, he got hurt in both of those years. His completion percentage is 60%. It moved from 58 his first year to 60% this year. It's really not great. His coaching staff for the first month of the season this year didn't even trust him. I mean, he was having 17, 15, 12 passing attempts in those games in a 2022 NFL season is absolutely ridiculous. And I get it. Some of the team is bad, right? The receivers, his best receiver this last 2 years has been Darnell Mooney, and really nothing around that. His running backs, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, are solid, but not top 10 guys that could change an offense. And his offensive line, I think, improved this year. His rookie year was bad. Overall, not a great offensive line, but I think PFF ranked him out to 14th overall this past season, which is a minimum average, right? If you have a good quarterback, if you have the 14th rated offensive line,
Exceed our expectations.
No one's talking about your offensive line if it's 14th rated, right? But with Justin Fields struggling so much, you do have to look at the quarterback class, right? And the only issue or the only reason I don't think they go quarterback is none of them fit. Bryce Young, I think he's QB1 in this class. I don't think the fit is right for Chicago. cold weather. You're going to be outside. Bryce Young is smaller. He has nowhere near the type of arm Justin Fields has. He's more accurate. His arm strength is definitely in question compared to Justin Fields. So thrown in bad weather, windy weather, snowy conditions, rainy conditions, I have questions around that for Justin Fields. You can talk about CJ Stroud. He's bigger. He has the bigger arm. Overall, he's probably he's the better pocket quarter, at least the bare minimum, than Justin Fields is. That I could possibly get talked into. But then you also have questions around CJ Stroud. Is he just a product of having 3 or 4 first-round receivers on him for these last 2 or 3 years? Is it because guys are wide open because he's playing at Ohio State and the competition isn't at the insanely high level that you see someone like Bryce Young play in the SEC? So I do think there are some questions around CJ Stroud as well. But for the Chicago Bears, I think their best bet is still to trade down, get those extra assets, really build a team around him, and then hopefully this next season is going to be make or break for Justin Fields. In the 2 seasons, they have not won more than 6 games, and honestly, more of those wins have come with guys not named Justin Fields than with Justin Fields. So if you are not able to get past that 5-6 win mark this season, there's a chance next year we could be talking about potentially getting a quarterback. The only issue is they're probably not going to have the number 1 overall pick. Next year, number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, is a completely generational player compared to this quarterback class. So it feels like if you want to go a new direction for quarterback, this might be the year, because next year maybe you're picking at 7 or 8, and nobody in the top 2, unless they already have a quarterback or someone got injured, is going to be trading that pick away.
I think we got to stop this. Justin Fields' last season, look, he was very raw as a passer. He also led the NFL in explosive plays for a quarterback. He had 3 different rushes of 50 yards and more. He has a long ways to go as a quarterback, but there is no such thing as a perfect quarterback prospect, with exception to the very rare few. Andrew Luck, Joe Burrow was close to it, and Trevor Lawrence. This is not the draft. With Bryce Young being 5'10", and with Anthony Richardson's lack of development, there's no such thing as a perfect quarterback prospect. And with Justin Fields, you have one of the most dynamic athletes we've seen in the last decade, but you also have a great kid. And when you're looking at project quarterbacks, the most important thing is that character. And he's shown some of that progress with the Bears offense that, look, Darnell Mooney gets hurt this last year. His number 1 receiver for part of the season was Chase Claypool. And part of what Ryan Poles talked about in his press conference after the series, look, we have to get him the weapons, and he has to develop as well. It's not just, Justin Fields being a raw player at 23. It's this Bears organization having no meat on the bone in terms of weapons on the outside. I think for the Bears, all the people saying you have to explore train Justin Fields, no, you don't. Justin Fields is your guy long term. You see this year, if he doesn't develop, then you change your plans. But we talk about stability all the time at the quarterback position. Teams that don't have it, and oftentimes those are the teams that disappoint us the most. Teams like the Colts, the Commanders. And with Justin Fields, there is no guarantee. I mean, if he went to this draft class, if you were put him in with Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young, QB1, right? And he's still 23 years old, right? So to me, it's a no-brainer. You keep Fields long-term. You shouldn't have to think about training the kid. And the ultimate decision is, who's going to get more assets in the number 1 overall selection, the Colts or the Texans? Because those are 2 teams that are quarterback needy. You leverage those 2 division rivals against one another. Whoever gives you more long-term assets, you take that, because your team sucks. There is I can't name you a single player on this defensive line. I can't do it.
It's bad. Before you go, Joel, the one thing I will say, just to counteract, Justin Fields a prospect. Without a doubt, was QB1 in this class. Yeah. This isn't Justin Fields, the prospect. This is year 3 Justin Fields. Prospects are the best thing because everyone has best case scenario in their minds. Bryce Young's going to hit. Stroud's going to hit. Richardson's going to hit. Everyone's going to hit and be great quarterbacks as a prospect.
That brought me Sam Darnold flashbacks.
But now we're 2 years into Justin Fields, so we can't say prospect Justin Fields because we have 2 years of tape on him being an extremely raw passer. I think more raw of a passer than anyone was expecting.
It's different, though, because he came in middle of the year last year for a Bears team that had no offensive line. Matt Nagy on the ropes.
But he just said our offensive line was pretty good.
This past season.
His rookie season.
Yeah, his rookie year.
2021, it was a disaster. You throw him out to the Wolves. He wasn't ready day 1. To me, I feel like we're just going to year 2 with Justin, because that first year for him was a lost year. You have a new assistant.
Sounds a lot like Zach Wilson, man.
Sounds a lot like Trevor Lawrence. But he didn't get Doug Peterson this last year. We still have to wait and see with Matt Eberflus. I think he did a good job. He just didn't have anything on the defensive front. I think we had to stop with the Justin Fields talk, but to your point, I think it's most likely they trade that number 1 overall pick because Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, good enough quarterback prospects, one a high floor, the other very alluring skill set, to the point where they can get multiple ones probably. I think for that 1st overall pick, the way the Giants got multiple ones for Justin Fields, who they trade for, what was it, pick 10, 12 around that mix? So
listen, it's not most likely. They are going to trade the pick, and they're going to trade it to one of these quarterback needy teams, either the Colts or Texans. And given Chris Ballard's desperation for a quarterback, I think the coach is going to move up to number 1. They're going to draft Bryce Young. I think Shane Steichen and Bryce Young is a really good fit, in my opinion. It's a similar scheme, so I think Bryce Young will work out there. The Bears have so many holes that I don't think drafting a quarterback right now makes sense for them, especially a quarterback that isn't a surefire prospect. And I think even if Fields struggles next year, there's going to be a lot of great quarterbacks in the class. Caleb, Drake May, Quentin Ewers might be available, I'm pretty sure. I mean, listen, the quarterback draft class is going to be very good next year. This is an interesting stat. The Bears scored on 70.6% of their opening drives last season, number 1 in the NFL, number 3 in points per drive, number 4 in drives to reach red zone, and number 4 in EPA per play. Every drive after the opening drive, they ranked number 23 in points per drive and 24th in EPA per play. Their opening game script is amazing, but once defenses figure them out, and specifically that passing offense, because it was very elementary, it's not a secret. Fields was a bad passer last year. He was a bad passer.
Yeah.
But you also have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he has no receivers. I think Darnell Mooney is a number 3 on the team. I don't think he's 1 or 2. No, I think he's number 3 on the team.
Gabe Davis is 2.
Gabe Davis could have had 1,000 yards with the Bears, bro.
Shut up.
Yes, he could have.
Mooney
Mooney had
actually
it.
clears.
If Darnell Mooney had it, Gabe Davis could have had it.
Mooney clears.
Stop playing, man. But all I'm saying is that they get a treasure chest of assets from trading the first pick. You can rebuild this team. They need everything. Wide receiver, I think offensive line would help. Defensive end, defensive line, linebackers, defensive backs. They need everything. I think, you found they at least addressed 2 positions in last year's draft with Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. So now I think they need to find a linebacker replacement for Roquan Smith. And that defensive line is horrible. So you got to bring in some talent on that defensive line. I think that they're going to trade back and draft somebody like Will Anderson or a Murphy. I think. Or
Even
Tyree Wilson, I believe.
Even if Jalen Carter, let's say a week from now, the rumor is Jalen Carter's not going top 10. It's not going to happen. Now all of a sudden, it's Will Anderson, and that's it for an elite prospect. Does that change either of your opinions of trading down? Not that they go quarterback, obviously, in this case, but maybe now they go Will Anderson.
No.
Still trade down?
The picks you'll get, you need to – I don't think one player is going to fix this team. So I think from the picks you get, you can draft multiple players, and I think that'll be a benefit to them.
Yeah, it depends on the package, I guess. Especially, listen, I think then it makes all the sense in the world to trade down to 2 instead of trading down to 4, because then you can still get Will Anderson. And all of a sudden, the Texans get more leverage because they know the Bears don't want to trade down to 4 and miss out on Will Anderson. They could trade up from 2 to 1. Maybe they don't have to give up. They could probably give up a second-round pick, and that's all it'll take, knowing the Bears are going to take Will Anderson regardless. So this, honestly, might be best news for the Texans out of everybody.
Yeah.
Now, Bryce Young is not throwing at the combine. And that's shocking news because C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis will all be thrown at the combine. Do you think this is a bad look on Bryce Young to not do that?
This doesn't move me. We know Bryce Young is accurate. The biggest issue would have been if Anthony Richardson didn't throw. He's someone that you could look at 50-ish completion percentage, between 50 and 60 this past season at Florida. So he was the big one I was looking for. Are you going to throw up the combine when you can't script the throws? You have NFL guys saying what throws to make. And obviously you're in front of everybody, not at your own college. So the setting and scenario is different. Bryce Young, I know he's accurate. I know he could throw the ball. There's nothing that Bryce Young is going to do throwing at the combine that I don't know already. And the issue with throwing at the combine is nothing positive is going to come out of it, right? Only negative things are going to happen. If you throw at the combine and you have a stinker, everyone's going to talk about it. If you're at the combine and you're great, you're supposed to be great. You're in t-shirt and shorts against no defense playing against air in a dome. You're expected to go out there, complete every pass, make it look pretty. So for Bryce Young, he's played at Bama for multiple seasons. Like, we know what Bryce Young is as the player. His biggest issue, or not issue, but the one thing everyone's going to look at is when he does his measurables. How tall is he? Is he 5'9"? Is he 5'11"? That's going to be the biggest issue. I think people are going to go crazy. Yeah. Personally, he's 5'9", 5'10", 5'11". I don't care a ton. I think his role as a quarterback in the NFL is going to be an improviser type role. He's not going to be a guy who could just sit back in the pocket and tear you apart because of his height. That's going to be his biggest hurdle to overcome, not throwing against the air defense.
I agree. And Bryce Young is one of those quarterbacks where you saw at Alabama how dynamic a creator he was, out of structure and even in structure. It's a matter of that size. Like, that's for GMs. You look around the NFL, And especially when you're on the ropes, a guy like Chris Ballard, you need to take somebody at quarterback that you have full trust in. You talked before about the Colts maybe trading up. But Bryce Young, it's not a matter of his skill set, right? He's gotten the Drew Brees comparisons with a little bit more mobility. It's simply a matter of taking a 5'10" quarterback. When we're seeing Tua miss all this time at his size, he's even less mobile. I mean, that is the only downside, I feel like, to his Sky report, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I think that his size is a big ass concern to me. You know, a pause. I think he's 5'10", 5'9". He's what, 190 pounds?
Yeah.
Listen, I struggle with that. We just saw how much times Matt Ryan got hit behind the Colts offensive.
But Bryce Young's so mobile.
The Colts offense line's getting a little bit better later on in the year.
All I'm saying is that, I do think that this is a battle for Bryce Young. I want you to go out there and compete. I want you to do that. I want Richardson, Levis, CJ, they're all throwing. Listen, you're the only guy that's not throwing. If all these guys sat out and didn't throw, I understand it. He's the only one not participating.
But would you think that he has the least to prove?
No.
In terms of this situation where you're just throwing against air, he has the least to prove.
I think that when we talk about the combine and pro day, a pro day is a scripted environment where you are scripting every throw that you're comfortable making, that you can wow scouts with. A combine is different because you're making throws that NFL level throws. You're making throws that coaches want to see you make. And I think the combine is going to help out possibly Richardson or Levis the most because they have the most physical tools. And I think if Richardson has an accurate day, that can skyrocket his draft stock, I think. And Levis, I don't know why. I have this weird feeling that the Colts are just going to go AWOL and trade up for Will Levis, bro.
That's been honestly the hot rumor because we know Ballard loves his guys with the physical traits more than anything. And I mean, Richardson's right up there with him in terms of physical traits. I think it's even more traits.
He has more traits.
More traits than Levis. But obviously there's accuracy concerns with Richardson and to an extent Levis too, but Richardson, 1-year starter at Florida. It is the SEC, which obviously makes you feel better than Levis playing in Kentucky. But the concerns are real because I was talking to Joel, I think it was off the pod. I started doing some scouting on Richardson. I think he could process. I don't think he has an issue processing what's going on in the field in front of him. His issue is once he's processing it, can he accurately deliver the ball to the open receiver? That's his issue, right? That's why he's completing around 55% of his passes. A lot of that I still think has to do with, this guy has started 14 career college games, right? You're expecting a lot out of somebody who does not have a lot of, experience and reps doing these things. But I think it's a pro or a positive that he did it in the SEC, although he did struggle at times. He also had some highlights that when you're in those meeting rooms, we're in the war room, and you put those tapes on, you could say he's going up against high-level competition. He's beating guys. He's faster than these guys, stronger than these guys, bigger than these guys, and these are NFL guys he's going up against in the SEC. I think that'll be his biggest, at least sticking point when it comes to Richardson versus Levis, because I think QB 1 and 2 between Bryce Young and Stroud feels pretty, set in stone that those are the top two guys.
So I'm going to name quarterbacks that are quarterback needy.
Okay.
These teams. So I kind of broke them up into two tiers, right? The teams that are quarterback needy, and I kind of have an option for them. Those are the Texans, Colts, Jets, Panthers, and Raiders. And then the next tier, it's called I have no idea what's happening. So the Buccaneers, I don't know who their quarterback's going to be, or the Saints, or the Falcons, or the Commanders. That to me, they're the huge question marks. So going down this list, teams that need a quarterback, the Houston Texans. I think that the best option for them is Bryce Young. You play in good weather. You don't have to throw it into gusting winds. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Colts, CJ Stroud to me feels like the likely option. You can flip the two though. Bryce Young could go to the Colts, CJ to the Texans. The Jets, I have them getting Aaron Rodgers. The news that just came out, the Raiders will not pursue Rodgers, is big time because I think that puts the Jets in the front seat to get him. The Panthers, man, Frank Reich just said Derek Carr is in his prime. I think Derek Carr is going to Carolina. You know what? With that all-star coaching staff, with the young talent they have on that team.
And developing a line, too.
Yes, I think Derek Carr in Carolina is going to be amazing.
Perfect. That is the perfect destination for him.
Yeah, and he'd easily be the third best quarterback in the conference?
Yeah, by far the best in the division.
Yeah. Trask.
Yeah, that's a great point. Derek Carr, as I said before, he cannot play in the cold, but you put him in Carolina, he is in a much, much more favorable position than the AFC East or the AFC North, something along those lines.
The Raiders. Sorry, you were about to go. The Raiders, I have them going and getting Jimmy Garoppolo. It's either Jimmy Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett. Josh McDaniels is familiar with both. And then I have no idea what's happening. The Bucks. For some reason, Carson Wentz has plus 300 odds to go there. I don't know if Carson wants to go to Tampa.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
I guess, is he favored to go there? Is he like the best odds plus 300? It's just, I guess there's nobody else really available. They don't have a high
Kyle
pick.
Trask.
The GM says they like Trask, but I guess you kind of have to say that, right? He's the only quarterback on the roster.
The Saints, I have a bunch of question marks. I really don't know.
What if Jameis goes back?
Yeah, I don't think that's...
Is he still under contract?
No. Andy Dalton isn't either. The Falcons, I have Desmond Ritter. And the Commanders is Sam Howell.
Word. I did my top 5. I had the Jets also getting Aaron Rodgers. I have the Texans taking Bryce Young. I have the Colts taking Will Levis. I do think Ballard, with his whole traits thing that he seems to always, really favor in the draft, is gonna take Levis over a guy like maybe C.J. Stroud. The Raiders, I also have getting Jimmy G, and the Panthers, I also have getting Derek Carr. So we saw basically eye to eye. I think the Colts one was the only one we had different.
So the Jets get Aaron.
I think so, man.
Rodgers.
I do think so. He had I didn't watch his whole podcast with, I don't know who he was on. But he basically said retirement sounds awesome. Playing for a new team sounds awesome. So who knows with Aaron Rodgers? But he did say that he wants to kind of figure this out quickly. He doesn't really want to drag on, which is thank God, because we need to figure this shit out quick. Because if not, we're going to move on Derek Carr. If not, we got to find somebody else.
The Jets, a report just came out that we're open to quarterback options. That includes bringing back Geno Smith.
I mean,
so a couple of different things here. Top 3 quarterbacks that are unrestricted free agents. Number 1, Derek Carr. Number 2, Geno Smith. Number 3, Daniel Jones. So first off,
gross.
Let's start off with the Raiders. They've been irrelevant for a while now. I do not think Jimmy Garoppolo is the move for them.
Like the McDaniels connection, maybe.
Even still, you need to take a swing if you're them, but you also have a lot of different holes in that roster. Aaron Rodgers will cost a lot that they don't really have enough to give up, but let's not even talk about them as much. So for the Falcons, Desmond Ritter is not the guy. I want to see the Falcons go after Anthony Richardson. With Arthur Smith's offense, the offensive line that they're building, they need to take a swing. It's another team. We probably know what Desmond Ritter is, and it's not going to be one of those high-level quarterbacks. Right? We saw him coming into the draft. He was not one of those elite-level prospects. He did not blow you away last year. Now, he showed some development. My problem with the Falcons is that they're probably going to waste a year with Desmond Ritter when you could probably get a better.
It's my bet, parlay, John. I'm almost going to hit.
What are you missing?
Garland needs 4 more points with 5 minutes left in the fourth, and Jalen Williams needs 4 more PRA with a quarter left.
You should get that.
Garland is stressing me. My goodness, Garland.
He should get the 6.
We're up 13 with like 5 minutes left.
Finish your thought, though, John.
Anthony Richardson needs to go to a place where run-oriented offense, they have the weapons.
Come on, bro. Is that us?
What are you talking about?
And then you also get to pair Anthony Richardson back up with Kyle Pitts, that Florida connection as well. He was the backup there in Pitts' last year, but nonetheless, that's a cool attraction. And then
Pitts.
For the Colts, I do not think C.J. Stroud would be the likely move. Stroud's a good prospect. He's got a high floor, right? I've seen a lot of people compare him to Jared Goff with more athleticism, especially top-end speed. But if I'm the Colts with Shane Steichen coming in, I want to take a swing. We saw him with Justin Herbert. We saw him with Jalen Hurts. Anthony Richardson's another great option for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Will Levis. I feel like that's the team that would be most interested because you talk about the traits. Levis at Kentucky had a terrible team around him. I think that's a pretty likely possibility at 4, is it? And then lastly for the Jets, it's a no-brainer. You have to go after Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, but Derek Carr is not leading you to the AFC Championship game in a conference where, look, the Jets do not play in a warm environment. It's not cozy. Carr has been pretty bad in the past. Talked about it before. You need to swing for the fences here. And
listen, I like Carr. I would welcome both quarterbacks. It doesn't matter to me.
With open arms.
But it's just I have a problem with you guys making it. Well,
Derek Carr
making it sound like Derek Carr is like, oh, if we get him, it's the end of the world.
Because he's not a fit with you guys.
Yes,
He's a good
fit with
quarterback.
us.
Why don't you think he's a fit?
New York. You think Derek Carr would thrive in New York?
Yes. Why
So
not?
would not.
Why
I
wouldn't he?
talked
You're saying
about
like
the Kenny Pickett
personality
game.
or just the cold?
This last year for him was pretty bad, playing against a shaky offensive line at best. You don't know who's going to be at left tackle for you.
24 touchdowns
That's
and 12
huge.
interceptions is bad.
I'm talking about the fit. Derek Carr at his peak, top 12 quarterback. But the Raiders were an advantageous spot for him. He had Devontae Adams this last year, and he struggled with Devontae to get it done.
No, he didn't. Devontae had an elite season.
Yeah, and there were games like against the Steelers where Devontae had 2 catches, 17 yards.
Is that Derek Carr or is that the offense?
It's Derek Carr because he played a shit game, had 3 interceptions, played terrible the entire time.
He's animated.
Like it's like you're not every game you're gonna put up 100 yards and a touchdown. Like
Well,
Jefferson's
what I'm saying
had
is
bad
there have
games.
been stinkers
had
by
bad
Derek
games.
Carr where if you put him in that Jets environment with a bad O-line, cold weather, and a fan base that is really desperate, I don't think he's going to actually exceed. You guys have high expectations as a team.
He's
not
also
gonna
had some of
lead
the
you.
most fourth quarter comebacks in the NFL since entering the league.
So did Kirk Cousins. So did Daniel Jones. You're not looking at those guys. Or at least
No.
Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones
Not
last
Daniel
year.
Jones. I'm saying Derek Carr as a quarterback in total.
This past season, he's saying
Bro,
Daniel
the
Jones.
Raiders, for one, let's get some narratives out the way, bro. Devontae Adams had an elite level wide receiver season.
1,500.
Darren Waller was average and injured. Hunter Renfrow was average and injured. Josh Jacobs ran the ball very well, but the running game was benefited by the passing game. It wasn't. They weren't a run first team. They were a pass first team, and the run game was benefited by that. The offensive line was shaky. They had one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and the Raiders lost 8 games by 1 possession. That's not all on Carr, bro. A couple things go differently. The Raiders are a playoff team, and Carr has a lot of fourth quarter comebacks and game winning drives. All I'm saying is that let's stop acting like Carr was in a situation where it was a great situation. It wasn't. And Josh McDaniels is not a good coach.
He's been through
He's
how many
not.
coaches and how much turmoil in the Raiders between ownership and players and GMs. It's never been easy for Derek Carr.
Oh, no. He's been failed perennially by the Raiders. I said it before. Carr was
that
an
the Jets
MVP candidate, a top 12 quarterback at his peak, but with
To an
Nathaniel
A-class
Hackett.
organization.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's getting a huge upgrade there.
With Nathaniel Hackett, I do not have trust in that duo, coordinator and coach, leading the Jets to say
Hackett was great though
ASG.
last year. As a play caller, he was, man. Fourth most
There is
open
one.
plays.
I was gonna say there is one stat that shows Hackett is a great play caller, and we're taking that to
Numbers
the grave 'cause I
don't
know the
lie,
choice.
but you can use them to fit whatever
Their
argument.
problem
you
is
want.
Russell Wilson. He sucks.
He's not great.
That was their problem.
That
problem
was
is that
the
Hackett-
bigger issue. His system didn't fit Russ.
Exactly. You need an offensive coordinator that can maximize a quarterback. You don't
That's
know
a
if
fact.
Hackett can
But,
with Derek Carr.
I mean,
you know?
is the offense change a ton between Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers? Probably not.
I'm gonna be
Solid
honest.
point.
You cannot even name me 2 offense coordinators Derek Carr's had. He's had no notable ones.
That's a good point. He's had, what, 5 or 6 through his
He's had
time?
a lot. He's had a
Not a
lot.
ton.
And
He
Josh
might have been 5 or
McDaniels-
had 6 head coaches.
Yeah. Josh McDaniels this
alone
last
the
year.
coordinators.
McDaniels always struggled, especially in close games as well. It's not all in Carr, but I think for the Jets, Rodgers is the only option that's going to lead to the AFC Championship game.
I understand.
He might be right.
A lot of quarterback needy teams. We'll see what happens with them. This is going to do it for episode 259 of the Pick a Side podcast. Thank you guys for joining the live stream. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. Make sure you guys leave a like on this stream. It helps tremendously. Next show, I'm expecting to get Riv and Drew back. We're still going to find a way to implement John in the show. I mean, he's always in the room with us, but it's just about getting him a microphone.
I guess we're recording. I don't know what we're recording.
Unless it's
He'll be
Friday,
back on
Saturday,
Friday.
we can see. We'll see. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.